Welcome to Into the Weeds with Weezer, a Little Bitches podcast. A podcast where we discuss all the songs off of a Weezer album, then guess each other's favorite and least favorite song off said album. I am one of the little bitches. My name is Kevin. We have another little bitch, Liam.
Thank
we
you.
have our final bitch, Sandy. And we will be discussing Weezer tonight. The album we're discussing is Maladroit, and you will pronounce it a little bit differently, I understand.
I will. Yeah.
Maladroit.
Maladroit, for you non-French Canadians. Maladroit is the fourth album by Weezer. It was released on May 14th, 2002. It is known for its much more like heavy, kind of like almost metal kind of sound. It also had much more of a collaborative process with its fan base online. It is the first album to have Scott Schreiner as their bass player. It was produced by Weezer and I guess technically Rob Cervera, Chad Bamford. They both were engineers on it. It was like mostly positive reviews for it, but it is actually their lowest selling album. Is that still true?
I think so.
Wow. It had produced two singles, Dope Nose and Keep Fishing. It was released not even a year after the Green Album.
Yeah, I think it was like just shy of a year after the Green Album. Yeah.
Metacritic rated it 72 out of 100.
I think that's one less point than the Green Album.
Yeah.
Was it? I thought it was the exact same actually, but maybe
I think it was 73, I think, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay. And yeah, that's kind of like the introduction to it.
I've been really looking forward to talking about this one because this, as I said, I think last time, or I might have mentioned, this was like peak Weezer hype for me when Maladroit was recorded and eventually released. Like this was when I was at the absolute zenith of my fandom for this band, and so I have a lot of really good memories associated with this album. But that's not the only reason I've been looking forward to talking about it, because as we have kind of discussed in we have a group chat called the Little Bitches group chat. In our group chat, this is one that Liam has spent the least time with. So I've been really, really looking forward to hearing your impressions on it, and I'm dying to hear it actually.
And I'm the opposite. This is the first Weezer album I bought. So like this is kind of like the first one that like I possessed on my own and like listened to.
So you've spent a lot of time with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when I first got it, yes, yeah. So, but I've abandoned it over the past like 15 years or whatever.
Right.
But
Okay.
I came back to it.
Yeah, for me, this one totally fell through the cracks. Like I started listening to Weezer right before Everything Will Be All Right in the end. I caught up on Blue Album, Pinkerton, and then I picked away at a bunch of other songs, and through that, I ended up, I would visit the album that those songs were from. And I think because Maladroit, the singles weren't as successful. They were successful, but they weren't as successful and not as talked about in the Weezer community. Like I would always hear about Raditude and Red Album and stuff, so I had to check that stuff out. So somehow I checked out everything, even Hurley, before this album. This one just always slipped through the cracks. And so I probably only started listening to it front to back a year or two ago. And even then, it wasn't until we decided to do this podcast that I had to. I had a moral obligation to listen to this thing over and over and over. And so now coming into this conversation, I'd say I've not spent as much time, obviously, but I've listened to this album equally as much as most of their other albums, excluding like Blue Album and Pinkerton.
Did it offer another piece of the puzzle? Like, all these other albums make more sense because of this album?
No, actually,
Okay.
it confused me more because I had listened to Make Believe and Green Album sooner, and those albums I think are they sound quite similar.
Yeah.
I wouldn't confuse a track off one for the other. Make Believe Green Album is so distinct in its song structures, but to have Maladroit right there in the middle, sounding so different from either of them, I guess that made me sort of understand why it's talked about less, just because it became maybe eclipsed by the huge singles from those albums, Island in the Sun, Hash Pipe, and then Beverly Hills off the next album. So it kind of just slipped through, and maybe coming out only a year after Green hindered it as well. That being said, after spending so much time with this album, I also am asking myself, why is this talked about so little? I mean, I'm a culprit of that, right? Because I also didn't listen to it and wasn't talking about it. But at this point, like, I'm more excited to talk about this album and hear what you guys think of these songs than I might be for any of the other albums, because I am so much less familiar with the discourse around it. So I don't know where you guys are going to come at with these songs.
It's like Blue had its Pinkerton, Green had its Maladroit.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like this like the darker version of Green.
It's true.
You probably speak but more to this, but like my understanding is that Rivers took a lot of took in a lot of criticism from his fans.
Oh yeah.
To produce this album.
Yeah.
And like try to correct some of the complaints, but it still kind of maintains the same kind of song structure formula most of the time, but it's like it's much more inventive.
Yeah, you generally, for sure. So this is when as I said, this is when I really got immersed in Weezer fandom, right?
Yeah.
Is when they were just starting to record Maladroit. So like around like the end of summer 2001, I was like hitting the boards pretty hard. And yeah, people were not happy with the Green album, right? There were people like me who thought it was good, but I would say that we were far outnumbered by the people who thought that it really sucked. And like it was not subtle. The discourse around it was not subtle, like on the online communities, right? And I don't know if that, I don't know if that impacted Rivers or how it did. I know that he was, just from what I've read and like, all the pieces I put together over the years, I know that he was really, really, really proud of himself for Green's success.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that he really felt vindicated in his songwriting approach, that the way to achieve this was to have these really impersonal, like sort of generic kind of songs, that this really was the right way. And I've read that Maladroit Rivers, like Maladroit era Rivers, was like kind of a dick. You know what I mean? That he was quite egotistical.
Yeah.
That's the era that Little Bitches and Disney Gay came from,
Totally.
right? Between Green and Maladroit.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I don't know. It's interesting because I don't know if he was trying to like correct course from Green, because I think he was pretty confident after Green. But I also think that Scott Schreiner joining the band had a big impact on how Maladroit sounds. They made reference to that around the time that he joined, that he's not like a sort of like wallflower nerd who is,
he's hardcore.
He's like, I remember them saying that, Scott, like we when Scott goes out every night, like he like puffs up his chest and fucking shreds the bass, and he's like covered in tattoos. And I think that he actually had an impact on how Rivers started to think about his music around that period, right?
That's a pretty crazy jump, though. Like the heaviness of this, it was like really Scott Schreiner. You think it came from? Oh, whoopsie.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say it came from him, but I think that him joining the band got them to approach their instruments with a little bit more
aggression.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know that it had a big influence on how Pat, because I know this because they talked about it in interviews,
okay, crazy.
Right?
I didn't know.
I know that the way that Pat had some interviews around then where he talked about the fact that he and Scott lock in a very specific way as a rhythm section, and that it has a really nice feel to it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that he had an influence on sort of the direction of the band for Maladroit, for sure. and then I don't know how it started. Like, I don't know how he got into contact with the online community the way that he had. That was just a little bit before my time. Like, I don't know how it started, but by the time I was like really invested, Rivers was like on the message boards talking to people.
Yeah.
And I can't speculate as to how come he started soliciting all this advice and feedback from fans in terms of like what should he be doing and what songs should he be taking and all that stuff. I don't know what his motivations were.
Maybe I'm wrong, but my understanding is that because there was like, although Green was successful, that there was a bit of like a backlash from fans, and then he was like, people were telling him that like when Matt Sharp left the band, you guys suck, and like he's trying to like dissect like, well, Matt Sharp didn't contribute as much as you think he did, and so he's, I don't know, I thought it was, with the whole Disney gay thing was mentioned too, like he was sort of dismissing some of his older stuff too, and like having a debate with the fans. I mean, I'm just like speculating here.
Yeah, well, he was like standoffish with the fans. Like he was not like he wasn't like a chill, nice dude on the boards. Like he was.
Oh, he was combative with.
He was kind of a dick. Yeah, he wasn't that cool.
Oh, okay. I thought he was asking for advice.
Well, that's what's so interesting is because he was.
Yeah,
but then he was also being sort of a dick about it, right?
Okay. So what should I do? Like, do this? Like, fuck you.
Basically, yeah. And then he, like, for the track listing for Maladroit, like, he solicited all this advice from people about like what's once he knew what songs were going to be on it. Like, he solicited all this advice about it, and then apparently, like, once everybody like submitted all their ideas, he was like, these are all awful, and just got his A&R agent to sequence the album.
Oh shit!
So Rivers didn't even sequence Maladroit.
Oh, crazy! I had no idea.
Yeah, it was a really weird time. I think that his psychology was in a really interesting place around this time in the band.
From the Green album, there was that message of like things going back to the same, and there'll be progress. So the first 3 albums had 10 songs each, and this song was the first. This album was the first album that only had 13. Not only
that had more than 10.
Yeah, it had more than 10. Sorry.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so he was trying to break some molds here.
I do think it is so fascinating that Green was a success. He took all this time off and then came back with this very distinct album that worked, and then a year later went in the complete like opposite direction again, sort of similar to Pinkerton.
Yeah.
Because I would, listening to Make Believe and Green album, I would think that those two came right after the other if I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I would think that Maladroit would have been one that happened after a few years off. You know, I would probably switch Make Believe and Maladroit just for what seems to make sense like artistically.
Yeah.
So yeah, this album is really fascinating for me. I do like the idea that he put out Green album and then he kind of did Maladroit as like also a quick example to like show people that like he can still rock, like he still got it. And then took the time off again. There's almost like Green album where like this quick 1-2 punch.
Totally.
So they recorded Maladroit after Green was out?
Yeah, so Green came out in like May of 2001, right? And in May of 2001, so when did Green album come out? Can you tell me the exact date again?
Yeah, so Green album came out May 15th, 2001.
Yeah.
Maladroit came out May 14th, 2002.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like 1 day earlier.
So Green album came out May 15th. On May 27th, they were already doing the first demo sessions for Maladroit.
Wow.
Right. And I hope that once we go through all the albums, we can dedicate one big chunk to like all the Maladroit stuff, because there's a ton of fucking songs from that era. But so Green came out May 15th. May 27th, they did the first demo sessions for what would become Maladroit. They did a few more over the course of the summer. Then they were touring this whole time. Right, from pretty much straight from like Green album's release, which was in May, straight to December of that year, they were on tour, right? But they would stop in cities and like go into the studio and just like grind the studio for a day or two doing demo sessions and stuff, and then would go back on the road, right?
Wow.
So that's what they were doing until about the start or mid December, and then that's when Maladroit started recording. So basically 6 months after they released Green, they started the formal recording sessions for Maladroit.
That's a really quick turnaround.
Yeah,
From recording to release.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So the Maladroit sessions would have taken place almost exactly a year after the Green sessions, which was at the end of 2000. This was at the end of 2001.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So do you guys remember having thoughts when you first listened to this album?
For me, it was really interesting. Well, I'm actually gonna pause for a sec because I was just talking for a bunch of time. I'm gonna take a pause. You can answer that one first.
I remember buying the album, having it in my Discman, and like walking around listening to it, and like, yeah, it's good. Never quite being aware of like the whole dynamic of like what old Weezer was versus new Weezer at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, yeah, this is working for me. I just like it's a different kind of feel. It's a little less claustrophobic. This album gets to like open up a little bit more, but it's like still pretty tightly formed. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't see anything wrong with it at the time.
At the time.
And I shouldn't say there's anything wrong with it now. No, I still have great. I'll be a defender of it, but there's a sign of like, what the hell happened to Weezer?
In this album, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like because I didn't realize what Green was, and so I'm like, eventually I'll be like, yeah, this is kind of part of the same process as Green. Like I consider these like sister albums,
Sure.
Green and Maladroit.
Sure.
Yeah, when I hear this album, even though it came out so close to Green, it seems so unrelated to me. Like if Green album didn't come out and they came out with this in 2001 or even in 2002 and just Green album didn't come out, I wonder then what the reaction would have been to this album, because I feel like it kind of slipped through the cracks, not because of its content, but just because of when it came out. The same thing happens with movies, where if a sequel to a movie comes out like a year later, a lot of people will miss it because they're still riding the high of the first, what just came out. It's just a lot to ask of people to get invested in something so quickly after a new one came out. So I wonder if Maladroit came out in place of Green, what kind of discussions people would have been having.
I don't know. That's
would people be like, yeah, this is a natural progression, Weezer didn't leave, or would it still be like, this is so different than Pinkerton and Blue? I don't know, because to me it sounds pretty similar to Pinkerton and Blue. The only major difference I think I would cite is the lyrics.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, in that case, let's bring it on to the first song, American Gigolo.
I've always thought that this song was about his fans.
Yeah.
I believe that pretty firmly.
Just to interrupt you right here, there's these lyrics that I highlighted about this very point. If you hate this, oh, I can't blame you because I'm hurting, so I'll flame you. I thought he was referring to this actual song of this album. If you hate this, I can't blame you is like almost like I'm writing these songs just to make hits. I don't even care about my fans anymore, sort of.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Is that what you're referring to? Or
and also specifically to the message boards, because he's talking about flaming them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
which is message board slang at the time.
Oh, geez. I did not know that.
You could get into a flame war on the boards.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, cool.
So I think this one is addressed directly to his online fan base.
But he's kind of sympathizing with him a little bit by saying, I can't blame you.
Yeah.
He's acknowledging.
Yeah, he's sort of acknowledging that like I don't know if he's acknowledging that he thinks this sucks or if he understands why they think it sucks. Right?
Yeah. Either way, it's the same kind of device he did a lot on Pinkerton, where he's like looking outward and like being self-deprecating while still like having issue with how someone is treating him. I took this song to be the same way, to be about his fans. I don't understand the title,
but well, maybe the idea is like if you're an American, this is coming to me right now. American Gigolo is that you sell your body. So he's kind of like just selling his body, making music.
Oh yeah,
Like
that's
maybe something
really
like that,
cool.
right?
I like that.
Yeah. He's a product.
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah, he's selling him like he's exactly. That's the way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he is American. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, he
That
is
makes
American.
sense.
Yes, I'm pretty sure American Gigolo was a movie in the '60s or '70s.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, it was. But yeah, that would make sense as to why he's repurposing it.
Interesting.
What I love about it, like the opening, that riff and like the drum beat.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I'm not sure where the one lands all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't know if I could sing along to it myself, but it's like back off, sit down, everybody. Got a long way to go, and it's like this, like din, 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 din. I really love that kind of like uncertainty, like rhythm. First of all, it's like an amazing rhythm, based like compared to like the Green album, where like everything was just like do 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 do. This is like do 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 do.
It's like funky almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I've always this was one that I can't say I've always had like a great relationship with.
Yeah.
When they were originally like releasing the demos for this and all that stuff was happening sort of in real time, I thought this was one of the weaker songs that they had they had in the whole batch of tunes they were working on, because for Maladroit they demoed like 35 songs. Like there's a lot of songs, right? And some of them were really good and really, really catchy and cool. And I didn't think this one was strong. I thought it was like just kind of plodding, and I didn't really like it very much.
Mm-hmm.
But as the years passed, I started to really, 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 really dig it. And now I think it's one of the better songs on the album. I really like it. And I really love the... It's such an awkward kind of weird, hard, heavy tune, and then it has that middle part where he's like, "I've seen this game before," and it gets super, super sugary for a second, and then he goes right back into this, this like. And
that's talent right there. Just to like have a heavy song where you get into the sugary part and actually transition back into it.
Totally,
That's really, really good. Yeah.
And then I also really appreciate whatever effect they have going on the solo. It's almost detuned. Like it sounds like there's some sort of effect on it. I don't know what it is. It sounds like there's one track of the guitar just sort of dry as it is, but then it sounds like they've got some kind of parallel effect coming in underneath it that's like detuned it a little bit.
Yeah.
The other cool thing that it does that is throughout this entire album that it introduces for the first time is Rivers doubling every single lead that he does. If you listen to the album with headphones on,
like the pan left and right.
Yeah, so every time a solo comes up, it goes zoom, and he's got the solos doubled and hard panned, which he said is actually a reference to Randy Rhoads, from like who was Ozzy Osbourne's guitar player in the early 80s, who died in a helicopter crash or a plane crash. Who apparently that's what he did as well. Like all of his leads were doubled and hard panned, and he was a big influence on Rivers. There's actually in the Blue Album booklet, there's a picture, I think, of Randy Rhoads. There's a poster of Randy Rhoads on the garage on the inside,
cool.
right? So that introduces that, which I think is a really cool effect. Yeah, I love it. American Gigolo is an awesome song.
Yeah, I really like this tune too. Even though I've been talking about how it's distinct from the Green album, it really is nice to hear in the order that they came out, because going from the Green album to this, within 5 seconds of the first song on this album, I hear like 5 different, maybe not 5 seconds, within 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
I hear like 5 things that I'm not expecting. Yeah. Whereas on the Green album, that's not the case at all. It'll start off, it's in 4/4. You hear the whatever riff, and then it repeats. And whereas this song, it's got just within 30 seconds, like it has the weird drum pattern at the beginning, which then transitions into the verse beat, where it settles into the verse in this really cool way, going from whatever time signature that is to the other one. You've got Rivers, like his rap singing, which is also like he teased that a bit on the last album, but I think this is the most blatant it's been before, where it's just kind of talking. And then you get the backing vocals, those little hips.
Keep on,
Like, not,
keep
yeah,
on.
those things. Yeah. And there's attitude in the vocals. There's just all sorts of cool little quirks in here. I love the post chorus there. I've seen this game before. Like, that feels like something that the Green Album teased doing a few times. We talked about how at the end of Green Album choruses, they'd have this tiny little section, a little tail, and then they'd go like back into a solo that does the verse melody. Whereas this has a longer bridge section that then, which I really like that melody, how it opens up and is so different than the rest of the tune in a brighter way. And then there's like this little pause that they didn't need to do before the solo, but it's just such a cool little quirk. And then the solo hits, and I also love the doubled guitar thing. Like, whether they're doing it on this album the same way they did Pink Triangle, where it's like two harmonized guitar parts doing different things, or guitar parts that are basically playing the same thing, you still can't really play a solo the same way twice, especially when you're being recorded and you can hear every little difference. So I love that effect. And even though I don't really latch on to this solo the way I do some of the other solos on this album, just in terms of like melody and really feeling the riffage, I really appreciate what it's going for. I love Rivers' little ha 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 thing. Just this song is just like full of a bunch of different quirks that are explored all throughout the album, and to just hear them on display in the first song is really exciting to me.
And there's a question here I'm gonna ask, and you don't have to answer it right now, but just keep in mind: is there a song on this album that plays the vocal melody as its solo? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So it's like the opposite of Green.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, because they get close a few times where they'll start doing the vocal melody. Like, I think that happens on Slob, maybe Slave.
Yeah, Slob. For
sure. I think we know about Slob.
Yeah, but then it's the same sort of thing Sandy talked about on the Green Album episode, where in the live versions of the Green Album, they might start to play the vocal melody and then they'll veer off, which I think is a great solo tactic. And so I think every solo on this album is wicked.
Yeah, so good.
Shall we go on to Dope Nose?
Yeah, the only other thing that I want to add to this is it's not really about it in particular, although this is a great example of it, is that I think one of the things you hear on this album that you don't hear on the Green Album is it sounds like they're having a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah,
right.
The drums especially.
Yeah, and it to me it sounds like for people who are really into playing with each other and are just really enjoying it. Even though I heard that Rivers could be like kind of a little bit weird in this period and had a bit of an ego. Yeah. It sounds like they're having a lot of fun. And I also think you can hear that they're a really well-oiled band. They've been on the road for a year when they did these sessions. And these were not like I don't think that these were fancy sessions. Like, I think they were like they got the rhythm section live off the floor. And then I think they just did like, they're pretty stark recordings, you know? And I think that you can really hear that they're playing really well together and they sound really, really good as a band. Mm-hmm. That's what I just wanted to pop that in right at the start of the Maladroit talk.
Definitely true. I totally agree. To Dope Nose, I'm just going to again praise the drumming. Like this is the exact opposite of Green. Like there's so much more like inventive drumming happening here.
I know. Yeah. Hearing this, like, I would think that it's a different drummer.
Yeah.
Or like that they paid a session drummer for the Green Album, or like the drums were programmed or something. Yeah,
but Pat can shred, dude.
He can, and it's kind of the same thing from Blue Album to Pinkerton. He does more cool things on Blue Album than on the Green Album, of course. But the jump from Blue Album to Pinkerton, where he can really show off what he does, is incredible, and he does it again here.
Imagine like a Dope Nose went, yeah. Oh, that'd be like a Green Album version of it or something.
Yeah.
It's this is a great song. There's so much happening all at once. So much crazy guitar work. The guitar solo in this song is crazy. I love that this is like an amazing part is like this is probably like the first time it's happened in a long time. They had like an outro that was like different than the rest of the song.
Yeah, bum 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 bum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought it was like a really like great single to pick.
Was this the lead single?
This was the lead single. Yeah.
If I may, like, hopefully I don't mean to offend anybody.
We're gonna talk
You
about.
got to do it, Kev. It has to be talked about.
Yeah, we got to talk about it.
All right, so there's a racial, not a racial slur. There's a homophobic slur in the song, but I don't think it's meant to be one of hate.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna be the one who's gonna say it. You guys can stop me.
Have at it.
No, go for it.
So the line is "Fag of the year, who could beat up your man." I think this is like a pro, like, gay statement. The idea being that like he's referring to a gay man who is like more macho than your man. It's like rather than the gay man being bullied, he's gonna kick your ass kind of thing.
That's how I've always heard it as well. The also unfortunate sort of reality, right, is that in the early 2000s, that was like a totally, like, for the most part, like, you could get away with saying fag, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
The culture around that was like really, really, really different. It's a good thing that that's changed. But even if you watch like movies from around then and like, you know what I mean? There is just like a ton of casual sort of homophobic shit, right?
Even like kids movies too, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it's in like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Like that's it's like a significant joke in the movie. So it's just one of those things, really.
So I think the culture was more permissive towards it. Obviously it was, but that said, I don't think Rivers is meaning it in a homophobic way. I think he's sort of being kind of ironic and making a joke.
Yeah, I think it ultimately it is like it's a pro gay statement, but yeah, I guess like it may not land on the ears of today
totally
that way, but yeah, I don't think he should be given shit for it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's I get the sentiment. I think the issue is just that it's not really his place to say that word. Like if he's not a queer person, and like I totally understand how it was a different time and people could throw that word around. Like this is on a lead single, right? And the fact that it would have had to have gone through a bunch of years and no one changed it. So it's not even, you can just like pin the blame on him. And then the fact that I agree with you guys, I think the actual lyric is not a terrible lyric. It's not a terrible sentiment. But if it were a different time, like I think he could have and would have said the same sentiment in a different way.
Totally.
You know, like it's no coincidence that like he hasn't used that word again. You know.
Yeah, but it's I guess ultimately it's like a reflection of where the culture was at the time.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because like I think Green Day like 2 years later we
on
that.
American Idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like it in a way that's like not like it's they're both kind of using it in like an ironic sense, and it's totally not meant to be like there's no vitriol behind what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
Let's get it out there for sure.
And then there's another thing too about the lyrics. For the times that you want to go and wait, this is lyrics. Isn't it bus rhymes real slow?
Yeah, that's definitely what it is.
Yeah, the lyrics are written wrong. But they want to bus rhymes real slow. I'll appear, slap you on the face, and enjoy the show. I'm kind of reminded of Only in Dreams being a very slow song.
Sure.
And is that possible? That
I totally think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, that he's I think that's directed towards his fans for sure. I think that's his way of saying like, you want me to do one thing, or you want a certain kind of sound.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show up and disabuse you of that notion and watch you freak out and have a chuckle.
And like we're kind of rock out kind of. Okay, yeah.
But what's interesting is that that's a lyric, because this is also an old song. This is a Summer Songs 2K tune.
Yeah.
And I think that lyric is in the Summer Songs 2K version as well.
It is? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it is. So that would predate the Green Album backlash or whatever, right? So it might this one could be nonsensical, right?
But he was also writing songs that were not like Pinkerton at that point too.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true. But I don't know. At that point, no one had heard them, because at the point that he wrote Dope Nose, Weezer hadn't been back on tour or anything like that. Like that, they were just getting ready to go out on tour again.
Yeah.
So unless somebody within his organization was like, "This doesn't sound like your old stuff. Get your shit together."
Oh, okay. I see you're saying that.
Yeah, there would have been, at the time Dope Nose was written, there would have been no fan backlash. Right?
So maybe it's just
It could just be a non sequitur.
yeah, just reading into things that aren't actually there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if these lyrics are just all non sequiturs, like cheese smells so good on a burnt piece of lamb.
I think that's most definitely a non sequitur.
I really like that. Whereas some of the lyrics on Green Album, I do think that they have more weight to them than I initially thought after you guys pointed some stuff out in our conversation. But even still, I can easily understand how someone would think those lyrics are trite. Whereas I don't think anyone could accuse these lyrics of being trite. You could accuse them of being meaningless, but they're still interesting. Just like in terms of just painting a picture and saying strings of words that have never been said in a song before.
Yeah,
I really like that. One of my favorite bands is Ween, and Ween is like a band that just like does a whole lot of drugs and just has just the most ridiculous lyrics. And sometimes the lyrics are clever, sometimes they're emotional, and sometimes they're just like, I'm just thinking, what part of your brain did you pull these from? This is insane. And so I really like that Weezer has a song like this, especially pairing those lyrics with this song that just has so much frantic energy to it.
Yeah.
Like they pack more into this 2 minutes and 17 seconds than the Green Album does
Green Album?
in like 3 minutes. You know, like Green Album will fit a minute and a half worth of stuff in like a 3-minute song.
Yeah.
And whereas Dope Nose kind of feels like it fits like 4 minutes of a song into 2 minutes, sort of like Why Bother on Pinkerton, where it's just like, oh my God, we have 2 verses, we have 3 choruses, we have an outro, we have a wicked solo, we've got an intro. So this song is really, really impressive to me and just really catchy as like a lead single.
I also just want to say that I like the way that you put that, whereas like putting words together that have never been put together before is like much more of like, I don't know how to put it, like cheesy lyrics are probably words that you've heard over and over again, whereas like if they're like this hasn't been phrased before, even though it doesn't make any sense, it's much more interesting than like hearing the repetition of like the cheese, I guess. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I never heard it put that way before, but it's a really good way to put it though. Yeah, I like it.
Thanks. Yeah.
This is one that they got in trouble for this. This is like part of the Maladroit story, right? Because they
were dope, or
no, they were doing Maladroit out of their own pocket. They paid for those sessions themselves. The record company wasn't involved, right? And because they were posting everything that they were doing on their their website day by day, right? Up to and including like final mixes, like not just like rough mixes of the sessions and shit, like up to and including final mixes of songs that just the only thing was that they weren't mastered, right? And they decided on their own, Rivers did, to, because radio stations kind of just started playing Dope Nose, right? Like K-Rock in Los Angeles and whatever the one in Philadelphia is, Y100 I think it's called, I can't remember. These 2 major radio stations at the time just kind of started playing Dope Nose. And so they were like, all right, well, that's just the single. And so Weezer, like Rivers, sent out Dope Nose to like on like burned CDs I remember seeing pictures of them back in the day to like all these radio stations. So they essentially DIY'd their lead single and without any input or involvement from their record company, and they got in a lot of trouble, and they had to like stop for a while, like posting stuff. They weren't allowed to post things anymore. The record company sent out all these cease and desist letters. They delayed Maladroit. It was supposed to come out on April 30th. I remember that. There was a website called the Free Maladroit Army, and you could and because Maladroit had been delayed, you could download these posters. I remember I downloaded a bunch of them and put them all over my high school, saying
cool.
Free Maladroit. And
on your school, did anybody like agree with you, or did anybody know what you're talking about?
I think I was thought of as a pretty weird kid, so I don't think anybody really cared one way or the other.
I feel like it could be like a move, a girl getting moved before people know what it is. They'd be like, "Oh, Sandy, I didn't know you were an activist, a social activist." Where's Maladroit? What continent is that on?
Is that in Asia somewhere?
It's on the message boards. Yeah, so this got them a lot of trouble, and then I think the record company sort of scrambled to get the video together and sort of just issue the single.
Okay.
And Rivers got
spanked pretty bad.
Got spanked for this one, for sure. Yeah.
That's so interesting that he has that drive to share things with people and keep them updated, even though he has this contentious relationship, because
right?
He still sort of has that drive. Like, he's still got his own private Discord channel. And around the time of the Red album, he did a video series where he had fans write a song with him.
Totally.
Oh, yeah,
he's just such a peculiar dude.
He's a strange cat, for sure.
And I love him for it.
Yeah.
Honestly, that Red album period where he did that video series to get people to write a song with him, I think that's what really got me into Weezer, where I just found those videos on YouTube probably shortly before Everything Will Be All Right, and I was just so fascinated by this guy, like just the way he talked and stuff. Like I could never tell if he was consciously making a joke or if the things he was sincerely saying were just funny to me.
Yeah.
And so I thought, if this guy is behind this music, I need to check out more of this music.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see his peculiarness pop up in these tunes, and it really does in Dope Nose, and the band's peculiarness too. Like, this brings back all the ad libs. Like, you can hear Brian Bell all over this thing.
Totally.
Lord, take me home.
Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta offer some criticism for this. I found these ad libs to be much more like, they sounded like more rehearsed to me. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it didn't sound spontaneous. It was like, all right, Brian, I need you to say, Lord, take me home now. He's like, Lord, take me home. He's like, no. Try it again. Lord, take me home. I don't know. I swear, for some reason, it doesn't sound as spontaneous as I guess Pinkerton is probably the most spontaneous sounding one.
Do you know, I can't speak to Maladroit, but I know for a fact on the White Album, which is much, much, much later, obviously, in the discography, and has a lot of these sort of ad libs and sort of funny things in them.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that for those sessions that it's not necessarily staged as in like planned out.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, we set up microphones so that Brian and Scott can do ad libs, and then we sort of comp them together and make the best sort of attempts, right?
Yeah, like the when I'm recording with my band, like I usually have like bass player Rick just kind of like go crazy and then like chop up the ones that work and the ones that kind of he's going too excessive or just like it's not working. Which I think kind of maybe Pinkerton worked that way a little bit. I don't know.
Well, Pinkerton was different. This is why there's all those out of tune vocals on all over the album.
Yeah,
is because they did it all in one session, all standing around microphones, right? Mm-hmm. So if my out of tune vocal is bleeding into your microphone, like there's nothing we can do about that. That's fucking on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Another little trick I'll say before we move on that I love about this tune, it's one of my favorite songwriting tricks, is they cut out a tag from the chorus, kind of like shortening the chorus, where the part where they say, "Oh, this dope knows."
Yeah.
That's not on the first chorus,
Yeah.
and then it's on the second and third.
It's like hash pipe.
Yeah.
Written on the same night.
Yeah. And so I love that songwriting technique. And it also really helps that for some reason that, "Oh, this dope knows" part with the harmony where Rivers stays down, but he's still got so much attitude in the way he says it. And then Brian is up there with the higher, "This dope knows." And so both those vocal parts to me are like equally as distinctive and make me think of that line. Whereas sometimes if there's a harmony or a backing vocal, my ear will only really latch onto one of them. But I love that part. They're just really working well together in this song, in this album so far. It feels so lively.
I want to, before we move on, just piggyback on that a little bit. That I remember reading an interview with Brian, and it might have been the same Guitar World interview where Rivers called all the fans little bitches, because there was a Brian interview in that issue as well. And I seem to recall, I know for sure he said this. I just can't remember if it was in that Guitar World interview or not. But regardless, I remember him saying that for what they're doing right now, and he's talking about Maladroit. He sees his job as finding hooks in Rivers songs that like Rivers didn't find. You know what I mean? And I think you see a lot of that in his, not just his backing vocals, but the little lead guitar bits that are peppered throughout he comes up with a lot of like solid hooks.
There's so many like much more like guitar riffs played throughout this whole album that compared to like Green, like Green just being like full, like mostly, well, sorry, I shouldn't say make like it's statements, but there's totally like so much more guitar work going on on this album. So that's Brian doing that, yeah?
Well, yeah, I think so. Rivers wrote all the solos and stuff, obviously, but all those little like picking things.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's all Brian.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't say this for sure because I wasn't there, but I think that him and Schreiner had a lot of agency over what they were doing vocally, and I think that Rivers, and I don't think Rivers was directing much. I think this is an album that they pretty much just jammed out and figured out.
I love it. There's a really good one on this song where at that "Oh, this dope knows" part, this little guitar comes in that it sounds like it's tapped.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it just comes in for like 3 seconds. It's so good.
Yeah. Cool.
So Keep Fishing is the second single off the album. I'm gonna come out and say it. I think this is kind of a weaker song on the album. Nothing wrong with it. I appreciate that, like it's like, I don't know, you want to call it its chorus or its bridge. Ooh, girl, when I'm in love with you. That part right there is like, it has like a tempo change and kind of like I don't know, is it actually a tempo change?
Yeah, so it's a time signature change.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, because in most of the song before that, they're in compound time. So like like you could break it down into threes, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then in that part of the song, they switch to straight 4/4.
Okay.
So it's not really a tempo change, but it feels like it slows down because it's to count it in threes, which to be in compound, it's like a very, very fast compound time, but it's like a mid-tempo common time, right?
But there's totally like a sense of like, yeah, I wasn't aware it was a time signature necessarily, but yeah, I guess that the compound time is kind of like can be interpreted as 3 or 4.
Yeah. No, because the difference is that if something is in compound time,
yeah,
you can go. You if something's in what's called common time, so any time signature with 4, you can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that evenly in compound time. Like if we put on Keep Fishing right now, and you and me sit down and go 1 and 2 and our ands and ones will always be falling at a different time.
Okay.
Right?
So can I offer you a small beat for a second? And I think this is in compound time too, because I was struggling to figure out this beat.
I don't know if I'll be able to, but
okay.
Let's try it. Yeah, Compound.
Okay, that's what that I was never knew what time signature I was in when I was playing.
Yeah.
That. It's probably the same thing.
One,
Yeah,
two, three, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's like a shuffle.
Yeah, it's same as Keep Fishing. You never be the better time. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of a weird feeling to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this song? Anybody?
I like it. When I was doing this one, when I was doing my rankings, I made a list. So the way I've been doing this, I've made a list before I listen to the album, and then I listen to it. And as I'm listening to it, I see like, does anything need to change?
Yeah.
Right. So I will say that when I made my pre-listen ranking for this, I had Keep Fishing pretty low.
Yeah.
And then as I was listening to the album, I noticed that I was tapping my toe and like kind of bopping to this one a little bit. And so I put a little mark beside it that was like, okay, Keep Fishing I need to rank it a little higher than I thought. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I like the single version better. There's a different mix for the single that I think is superior.
The one to the music video.
Yeah,
right?
it has like an acoustic guitar on the intro, and it's just a better mix, and it's a better arrangement. It's more interesting.
Also, I think the end you could hear it and get a job is like either it wasn't featured in the album version, or it's very quiet in the background because I can hear it in like the music video.
Yeah,
and get a
it's
job.
not in the album version. In the album version, there's just there's like ad libs going on in the end there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good song. I like I really like the middle sort of section there where it switches. I think that's a really nice melody. But even the kind of like the chorus or whatever, the just the thought of you in love with someone else, like that thing. I love the chord progression underneath it. I think it's really melodic and cool. And I don't think it's like top tier Maladroit, but I like it, and I like it more than I thought I did before I sat down to figure this out. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this tune too. Funny enough, I prefer the album version, but I've spent more time with it because it's the one on Spotify, and I didn't realize that there was a different one. I had seen the music video like way back in the day, but then I started listening to the album one, and now I've gone back and I checked out the single one a couple times. And what I like about the album one is, speaking of Brian's little hooks that he adds, I like it starts with the swinging drums, and then he does this kind of sort of thing. I love that hook, and I also I really love how big the single version is right at the beginning. Like they do the acoustic guitar, and then everything really comes in, and it sounds awesome. But what really sells me on the album version is the outro is different. Where Rivers is kind of singing over top, and in the single version, Brian is repeating "Get a Job," whereas in the album version, I think he's repeating "Drown Aways" or he's repeating "Waste My Days" as opposed to "Get a Job." I think "Waste My Days" is just a more impactful lyric to repeat over and over as opposed to "Get a Job." Maybe it's because I really don't like. Get a Job by The Offspring. What is that song called?
Wow, you get a job.
It's a ripoff of Obla Di Obla Da by the Beatles.
Yeah. So I think "Waste My Days" is a better lyric, and I absolutely love the melody that Rivers sings over and over at the end of the album version. The whoa, whoa, whoa. I love that. And yeah, I just think, just like with Dope Nose, I think this is a really good 1-2 punch of a single where it's really catchy. I like the kind of snotty, it's just the thought of you melody. And then I love that it opens up sort of the same way American Gigolo does to go to like that 60s beat. I'm a sucker for lyrics of the "There's not a thing we can do to save you from yourself." Save you from yourself is like such a common lyric, particularly in like 90s bands. A lot of them use it, and I like Nine Inch Nails uses it, Pearl Jam uses it, Counting Crows uses it, but I really like that sentiment. And I just think it's a really well filled out song with all of like kind of catchy sexy parts. I like Brian's ad libs. This is also another thing that's just in the album version. The after the solo, which is a wicked solo, they go back to "You'll Never Be," and then Brian goes in like kind of like a telephone voice, a better kind. So he goes, "You'll never be," and then you hear, "You'll never be a better kind, a better kind." Until you leave, and then instead of repeating the line, I swear to God, people, you can hear Owen Wilson. Brian Bell does an Owen Wilson. He goes, "Wow." And he sounds exactly like Owen Wilson. And I love it. And then basically until the end of the song, in the right ear, you can just hear someone going on and on in this telephone voice while Rivers is singing this beautiful whoa whoa melody.
Yeah.
And I just really like how much they pack into this cute little tune.
There's like some really neat like vocal interplay that I don't think I've heard like since like Pinkerton, like waste my days, waste my like the kind of call and response. But I guess it happened in Green a little bit, but like I don't know, like it's a bit of like call and response and then kind of like layer together a bit as it goes on.
Yeah, I love that. I think that those backing vocals are just as catchy as the lead vocals, and they kind of, you know, they're right up there with it. So it doesn't feel as like disposable as some of the tunes on the Green album.
I think what you just said about the backing vocals on this song, you can say for every song on Maladroit.
Yeah.
Like for real. Like I don't even think of them as harmonies. I just think of them as like other lead melodies.
Yes, yeah. And so like that makes me wish, you know, like I don't know how the control was actually divvied up in the studio at the time, but if like this is the actual all the band members with more control as opposed to the Green album, which is just Rivers. I know Rivers like solo wrote all those songs on Pinkerton and shit, but like give me the whole band giving some input as well. Totally. And then we can talk about the Red album and their additions later. But on this album, give me their input.
Okay, so like there's two things I want to point about the lyrics is that like first of all, this is not the only mention about getting a job. There's some sort of anxiety about like I suspect that perhaps Rivers feels like his job is not legitimate and like he's sort of like kind of like I'm not actually doing something that's important in the world.
I think that he feels that I know for a fact that he felt that way when he was on tour for the Blue album.
Okay.
So it could be. No.
It comes up again. I'm kind of perplexed about the lyrics of the song. This particular lyrics kind of confuse me. "Oh girl, when I'm in love with you, keep fishing if you feel it's true." So when you keep fishing, you reach back into the pile to grab another card. So like, "Oh girl, when I'm in love with you, look for somebody else." Like I don't understand what that meaning is to those words. Is there something that you can gather from that line that I don't understand? Keep fishing is like
it's always perplexed me as well.
Okay,
I don't get it.
Liam, you have an interpretation that's
yeah, I kind of think of it as keep fishing could be like reaching back in for another card. I also think of it as like when people say there are many other fish in the sea.
Yeah,
exactly.
Same sort of thing. And so I guess he's saying like when I'm in love with you, I've decided that you're the one for me, but to be fair to you, why don't you like look around, try for someone else to like test if I'm the right guy for you.
Okay. So it's like if you think you're really into me, fish.
Think again
to make sure that okay, that's a okay. I can see what you're saying. Like that's like an interpretation that I like. There's some steps missing out of there that like I'm reading what you're saying, but like I would never have understood that.
Yeah, and then as to how like there's nothing more that we can do to save you from yourself works. Maybe he's just saying like you have to take it upon yourself to look for other people. Like I can tell you that I'm the right guy for you, but if you don't decide it for yourself, then we can't carry on. I don't know.
And then the theme about getting a job at the end, it's like it just seems kind of like all over the map about what it's trying to say.
And I've always wondered if like is he telling this person to get a job or is it like, you know what I mean? The verses seem to be him like it's not really super clear if he's directing this to somebody else, saying like you need to sort of get your shit together,
Yeah.
or if he's sort of like I've never been really clear about whether that's coming sentiment coming from him out, or he's repeating something that someone else has said to him. You know what I mean? Like I've never really been super clear on that. But I think it would make, given the context of the rest of the song, that it seems to be about like a relationship in some way. I kind of suspect that he's saying like you've got to get your shit together in the verses.
Yeah, there's definitely, hey, if you don't move and get a job, yeah. Anyway,
we encounter, I think, for the first time, as we've discussed in the group chat, River's preoccupation with finances. And we're just a skip away from having to pay bills, and that's when this band really takes off. Mm-hmm. Take Control.
Take Control is track 4.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a mosher. And also this song reminds me of Get You a lot, especially the beginning part.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes, oh.
Similar tempo as well.
Mm-hmm. And it, like, oh, like the kind of painful.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of nice. The B part after the solo, playing it with different dynamics. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I won't.
Oh, yeah, it's that build up. Yeah.
It's like the Green album build up without the snare.
Yeah.
But to me, it feels earned here, because then Pat does his little fill and we get back into the groove, of course.
Yeah, just the idea of like presenting like a repeating part in a different way is like very rewarding, and they're doing it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I guess I don't have a lot to say about this song.
But you like it.
I like it. Sure.
You're pro Take Control.
It's I'm
I think it has. So Take Control is, I think, a really good song, and I think one of the best ones on the album.
Okay.
It has there's a couple of demos for it from about 6 months prior to the Maladroit sessions that I think are even better. They're more dynamic. It's a much more subtle song. It's not a banger. Yeah. It builds more. The verses start off kind of subdued, actually, right? Like dun 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 dun, and it sort of rises to that point that it gets to on Maladroit, right? And it makes the bridge in particular feel more effective, I think, in the demos, where he drops down to the bum, everyone, bum, 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 bum. You know what I mean? But I still like the Maladroit version a lot. I think it's got one of the better solos on the album. I really like. It's so good.
It is really good.
Yeah, I think it's a great tune. It revisits some lyrics from Crab, actually.
What does it say?
Won't be coming back around here no more.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
I've always thought that was peculiar.
That is cool.
Yeah. This one gets 2 thumbs up from Sandy. I think it's a really cool song. And also, if you listen to what the bass is doing in the outro, he is shredding up and down the neck. Like it's like he's playing a bass solo at the end. That's really cool.
Did not notice that.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, this song works for me on every single level. Initially, I just grabbed onto this song just because I loved the chorus melody. One, da, 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 and then I loved the back on here no more. I love whatever that melody is, that little walk down. Whenever I hear that in a song, I love it. And then the more I listen to this song, just the more incredible I think it is. I love that pulsing riff at the beginning. I love how stark the vocals are in those verses, and in the second verse they turn up like a bit of reverb or echo on his vocals.
Yeah.
I'm with Sandy. I love the chorus and the solo. I love the solo and the little vocal and things on it, like kind of hash pipe ish, where he's like, and it's this really cool. It's like a palm muted solo.
Totally, it's not.
It's really
Yeah,
rigid.
sure, yeah.
It's really rigid, but it's melodic. And like you said, Kev, I love the way they come out of it with that part that we've heard before, but now it's recontextualized with the build before they go back into the full swing of the chorus. And I also really love the lyrics of this song. I think of it as being a breakup song that it's positive, it's empathetic. It's saying we've broken up, but I'm not gonna trash you. You know, he says I'm not gonna let you down, drag your name all around town.
Yeah.
But I won't be coming back. It's over. And then I love that the bridge, which again does the dope nose thing, because at the end of the first chorus he says yo, and then it just goes right back into that rip and riff. End of the second chorus he says yo, and then we go into the bridge and he says, yo, everyone I know, take control. And the way that just totally ascends, and that sentiment of just saying, you know, you've got to take agency in your own life. In this regard, it's with relationships. It's sort of the opposite of the sentiment of something like No Other One, where he's saying you just stay with someone because it's you're comfortable, even if it's not working. Here he's saying, you know, you got to take control. You got to leave that. You guys can separate, and it doesn't have to be. There doesn't have to be animosity between the two of you. You can just go your separate ways. So I think this song works on every single level. I love it.
Man, I never like realized like how much meaning that there was in this song. There's something that I really appreciate about it that I think I've probably stolen was in the verse. It goes dun 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 dun.
Makes me stank face that little riff.
But I love the now the second half of the verse.
The Brian bit, the little arpeggios.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure I've stolen that. Like like, or at least that sentiment. Maybe it's like Nirvana-ish. But one thing that maybe because the interpretation of the words that you said, Liam, like maybe it's going to be completely off base here. He says, "And I won't be ashamed of the things we once made."
Yes.
I was thinking, like, is he referring to Pinkerton here? Maybe
it could be that too. I like reading it both ways.
But the rest of the lyrics are much more about a relationship than they are about Pinkerton. So I'm just like, yeah. So that's maybe it's just a little nudge, but maybe we're completely wrong, off base there.
Cool.
He could. Sorry, Sandy.
No,
he could also be saying if you're going with the relation to his own music, you know, he's saying he came back after Pinkerton, right? He's taken control of his musical legacy. He put out Green Album, and now he's swinging back the other direction. You know, it's up to him what he puts out in the world. Man. So
that's a crazy idea. I won't be ashamed of what I did in the past, but I'm taking control of my musical career. Yeah, that's crazy.
He also became Weezer's manager around that period.
Really?
Yeah.
No, he took control.
He did take control.
Yep. He fired their management. I think like in the summer of 2001, and just became he became Weezer's management for a time. Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like Paul McCartney at the end of Beale's career.
Yeah, we were like, what was it? He's like, he wanted Eastman and John wanted that fucking dickhead's name. Klein, Alan Klein. Yeah.
fucking dickhead.
Fuck Alan Klein. The only thing I really wanted to say about Take Control that I wanted to like specifically point out is it has what I think is my favorite bridge on the album. Which would you put like everyone like just when he drops down into the chord, like it's a really simple chord move and it's not fancy, but it's really effective. And it just the whole thing, the mood, like it's already a dark song, and it's interesting how in that moment for me, like it gets even darker, like the chord progression like fucking gets dark, but actually the sentiment lightens. in that moment. You know what I mean? It's sort of, they're opposed, right?
That's true.
Like the music drops down into this really dark, pulsing, heavy place, but he's delivering this, as you said, this very like this message with a lot of affirmation in it.
Yeah, and I love how he teases it out too. Like he's really stretching out the sentence, "Yo, everyone, everyone, everyone I know," and then Brian does the backing vocal, "Everyone I know," and so I'm just sitting there hanging on, like, what is he? What? Yo, what? Everyone, what? And then he drops the song title, and I'm just like, I will. I will take control of my own destiny by pressing repeat on this tune.
So that part's like suspenseful.
It is, yeah.
What's he gonna say?
Yeah, and the fact that he ends the first chorus with "yo," I'm like, why did he say "yo"? Who is he talking to? Oh shit, he's got this thing he's gonna say later. I just loved it.
Oh lordy, that's good. I totally did not. I did not see any of that. But that's really fucking cool.
You could probably put in like, you know what you could do? You know where it would actually really fit is right at the end of the bridge, but before the solo, the crab riff.
The crab riff? Yeah.
Da-na-na-na-na-na. Boom, boom, boop, 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 boop.
What?
I don't know. My name is Jonas. My name is Jonas. Where it would go. Near the end of that part. So for Death and Destruction,
Yeah.
very grateful that they gave us some insight into like recording in the studio, some like random noodling at the beginning of it. It's like, wow, the songs are able to breathe a little bit now. I'm like, whoa, they're not just like, let's cut the song at the very beginning. Anyway, I appreciate just hearing some kind of random sounds.
Mm-hmm.
The song is like got a lot of fun dynamics to it. Great drumming. I don't know. These rhythms in these songs are just much more inventive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe I'm crazy. During the solo, you listen in the background very carefully. I think there's a piano playing along. Maybe
Wow.
I'm wrong. I could play it over and over again. I was not quite convinced, but I'm like, maybe, yeah. And then also, I think at the end, I actually learned today what he was singing, but there's an outro to the song, and he spells "I love you."
Yep.
I did not know. I thought he was going but I learned today. But I appreciate this is an outro to a song, like an actual like long, paced out outro.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like a very nice breather of a song to have.
It is a great breather. I absolutely love this tune musically.
Yeah,
I think it's so different than basically anything they've ever done before.
yeah.
I love the swing of it, like just the way that they're locked in. The fact that they can even play this song is just incredible to me. I love the dun 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 boom. That's just such a great push and pull. I really like the way Rivers' vocals sound. This sort of hushed singing, and he's doing these little
Very soulful, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
And so I love it. The solo is one of my favorite solos on the record.
Yeah, it's so good.
This is where they really take advantage of the double pan solo here, because when one of them hits that really high note,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I love it, and I really love the outro, even though I think spelling out "I love you" is kind of corny.
Yeah.
I think he does it with conviction, and the lyrics are what bring this song down for me for being much higher on the album, because I really love the tune musically, but I think the lyrics, though I don't doubt their sincerity, I think they do fall into the trite category, like.
But just to interrupt you, did you know that it was spelling out "I love you"?
Yeah.
Oh, you actually realized it? Okay, shit. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
But
the trite.
it's just like every time that you that I call you, you find some way to ditch me. Like I think the sentiment is totally fine, but I just wish that he took a bit more time to get like a bit more clever with the lyrics, just saying things in a way that we haven't heard before. I mean, I think that I haven't heard someone say "you find some way to ditch me" in a song, but I think that's kind of for good reason. Like I think it just doesn't really strike me as a lyric.
Would it bum you out to know that up until a very late stage of the recording process, this was an instrumental song?
Oh, cool.
That it is a bummer just because if you're gonna take that, which they know that it's beautiful instrumentally, and if they're gonna make that jump, okay, we're gonna put lyrics on this tune and put it on the album, then I just wish that the lyrics didn't feel so placeholder. Because I love the melody, but I think the lyrics do kind of feel like the kind of thing you'd come up with as you're deciding that you need to put lyrics to it, but you haven't actually decided what lyrics to put there yet.
Yeah. The first time I heard this song was in would have been like fall 01, so well before Maladroit was released. They did some demos at a studio called SNS, which I believe stood for like, I swear to God, what I remember is Steak and Sound, but
now it stands for Slob and Slave.
Yeah. So there was about 5 songs that they put out. They demoed like a 24 songs at this place, but they released 5 or 6 of them, the SNS demos, and one of them was Death and Destruction, and it's much slower. Like it's like boom, 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 like really slow and longer. I feel like there's 2 verses. No, there's 2 verses on the album one, but it must just be longer because of the tempo, and completely instrumental. And it was an instrumental song all the way up until like close to the end of the Maladroit sessions, and then somebody must have been on the boards like, why is there no lyrics to this? And Rivers was like, well, I guess I'll write something. Lyrics. Yeah. I love it though. I think it's I really just, and I'm not huge on the lyrics myself. They do seem very placeholder-y. And that's really saying something because I think a lot of the lyrics on Maladroit seem placeholdery. Even though I really like the album, I think lyrically it's not their finest hour. It's more than made up for with other aspects of the album. But yeah, I think it's brilliant, and I think you and I, Kevin, had the pleasure of seeing it live, and I've actually had the pleasure of seeing it live twice. Wow. When I saw them again in 05, they did it, but they did it instrumental.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, wow. So I've seen it both ways. Wow. It has one of my favorite Weezer guitar moments, which is not actually the solo, although I do love that solo. It's the run that he does going out of the chord. I learned how to play that on guitar when I was like 17. I worked on it for a really long time, and like I still remember how to play. Like,
is it hard? Is it like not?
No, it sounds complicated, but it's not really all that tricky.
Okay.
It's just a matter of speed and dexterity.
Gotcha.
But it's not that hard. There's nothing crazy about it.
It's the spiritual successor to the crab riff. You put the crab riff right there.
And the solo is amazing. And one of my favorite things about the solo is that I love that high note as well. But my other favorite thing about it is there's actually a lower note that he hits where you can hear the mic like redline. It's like,
what does it mean?
Like red clip. Line? Like you could hear the mic kind of like get kind of saturated and overloaded for a minute.
Oh shit.
It's like like he goes through that part, and then it's like and then he does like he palm mutes a low string, boom, right at the end. Yeah. And when he hits that, like the microphone diaphragm can't handle it, and you can hear it distort, and I've always loved that.
It died and destructed.
yeah. I think it's a really great song. I love it. Great tune. Not strong lyrically, but definitely. I would say maybe a peak Weezer moment. Period. Musically,
I agree. Yeah, the bass is really sexy too.
Yeah.
The bass really does stand out, and it kind of makes me, just get bummed out that Mikey was only on for the one album. I'm sure Scott wrote a lot of these parts, so if Mikey was still in, the bass would be different. But there's just so much. These songs lend themselves for so much more space for the bass to do stuff. So
I really wish I focused on the bass on this album because there's a lot of movement going on that I didn't notice it. But I can't imagine it not doing things because like there's so much movement happening that it has to be doing things.
Well, and it's also like Scott Schreiner's like first album with like he had been in a few bands before, and he actually played bass in Vanilla Ice's band.
That's I heard about that. Yeah.
If you that was his main gig before Weezer, but at the time that he got called up to Weezer, he was sort of just like a guy doing his thing. He wasn't, you know what I mean? Like he was living a pretty normal life, I think.
Yeah.
And so this is his like, and he can shred on bass. He's a really fucking good bass player. So imagine knowing that you're a really, really good bass player and that you have like this internationally famous band being like, yeah, I don't know, write some bass parts. Like you're gonna really blow out all the stops. You know what I mean?
yeah, he does.
The next song is Slob. Was also, I guess it was a de facto single.
Yeah, they made a music video for it.
Yeah, but it wasn't like an actual like official single.
Yeah.
And we want to start with this one.
This is a Summer Songs 2000 song. This is an oldie. Cool. So Dope Nose and Slob are both from the Summer Songs 2000.
Oh, neat.
So that means that in the space of 2 albums, they've put out three SS2K songs: Hash Pipe, Dope Nose, and Slob.
Not enough.
Not enough, because SS2K is the 3rd album that Weezer should have put out. Slob's great. I really, really like Slob as well. It's one of the more lyrically coherent, like insofar as it's obviously about something and it tells a pretty clear story. There's some inventive lines that I really like. The thing about like drinking granddaddy's beer, I think, is really funny, and I love Slob. I think it's got a great solo. I love Pat's drums on it. I love that it's like a halftime sort of feel. It boom 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 boom. I love that he detuned his snare drum on it. It's got that really thumpy.
Oh, did he?
Well, it sounds like it to me.
Cool.
It's
I
got
didn't notice the different snare.
It's got a low. To me, it has a very thumpy sounding snare, which I really like the sound of. I think, and Rivers is using a bit of like not like studio effect distortion, like actual in my throat distortion on his voice, which I think sounds really good, and he doesn't do it enough.
There's a lot of passion in his vocals in this one,
and this is one that the fans advocated for. I know that specifically, that this didn't appear until about halfway through the formal Maladroit sessions, and it was because fans on the message boards were like, bro, do something with Slob.
Don't be a slob.
Yeah. It's great. I think it's a great song. One of the best on the album for me, for sure.
I love this song. For all the reasons Sandy just said and more. The thing that first grabbed me about this song is the way Rivers' vocals sound. Like, he sounds so passionate, but in a way that we've never really heard before, where he like sounds angry. He's like disgruntled on this song. And so to start the song by saying "Leave me alone" with the way he's saying it, is just so impactful to me. I love the way the song starts with Pat on the cymbal, and you can like kind of hear him like finding the bell. So right away, if that were Green Album, he'd be right there from the beginning, and each bell hit would sound equal, but you can tell it's a real dude hitting the cymbal. And I absolutely love the melody that might be the chorus. This song is kind of Green Album-esque in the way that like I'm not sure exactly what the chorus is, but and I won't listen to messages melody. And they hit it a few times also with the Granddaddy's Beer. I just love the way that melody soars. And I love when the song develops, he'll do, so in the verses, they will do what Sandy just said, the slower beat. And then when they hit that part, they go double time. And I love the story that this song is telling, perhaps about people telling Rivers that he needs to, I don't know, make more music or get a different career.
Sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
because he would have written this like when Weezer they weren't quite doing nothing, like they were definitely
Yeah.
sort of starting to get their feet back, but he would have written Slob at a time where it was still very much a question about whether or not Weezer was going to have a comeback. Right?
Yeah. So that's, I think, just such a cool thing to write a song about and sound the way he's sounding about it. And then I think this song also has a wicked climax where he's singing the same lyrics, get yourself a wife, get yourself a job, but now it sounds to me like it's been like recontextualized where maybe he's now directing that outward, saying to someone, don't be so concerned with me. Get yourself your own life. I don't like how you're living in my life, as opposed to when he says earlier, he literally says, and I won't listen to messages by someone who says, get yourself a wife. And I love the way he's just like gutturally letting out the word slob. He just does it the one time, and then they go into the verse, and then the second time when they really linger on it, and he's repeating the word slob, and the band is so locked in with those hits. I think this song fires on all cylinders, and I absolutely love Pat's drum fill coming out of the solo. I won't listen to. And that's such a cool lyric too. I won't listen, or waiting for little clues to appear that I drank some of Granddaddy's beer. That's one of those simple lyrics, but it's a string of words I've never heard before. And it sounds so personal. I don't know exactly what it means. Maybe it's like directed to like his parent, and the first time he can recall being like told what to do in his life was when he would like take sips of like his grandfather's beer that was left out. And so maybe his parents would like look out to see if there were any signs that he did that. And so he's relating now as an adult not being told what to do back to the first time he can remember being told what to do.
Yeah,
I don't exactly know, but I think it's just such a cool lyric. So
I always thought about that as being like, I related it to like saying so a little bit. There's like kind of like this sort of like forbidden like alcohol kind of like line that he's sort of drawing in there a little bit. About the you were referring to it earlier was the I don't like how you're living your life. Get yourself a wife, get yourself a job, and how it was like reinterpreted as like Rivers is scolding people. I've like, and it's complete. It's bullshit. He's literally not saying that. It's like, what's the line? Sorry, it was. And I won't listen to messages sent by someone who calls up and says, "I don't like how you're living your life. Get yourself a wife. Get yourself a job." Like he's literally referring to people telling him that. I think I've seen like YouTube comments like, "Why is he? Oh shit! Like, why is he telling me to get a job when he's a rock star?" I'm like, this is insanity. Like, it's like people are just mad. Like, what? I'll get it. You're a rock star. You're telling me to get a job and a wife? How dare you? Anyway, it's just bullshit. But I do like the theme of the. I mean, I shouldn't say I do like it, but I mean, it's another theme about getting a job. The Keep Fishing was not part of that of those songs, though, was it? Of the
Summer Song 2K? No.
Oh, okay.
No. It was the year later. So it was like Summer Songs 2K1.
The sequel.
Yeah.
But like the whole like the song starts off like there's great dynamics in this song. The first verse is presented in a like not a full drum beat, and then the second time around it builds on it. Like the whole song's kind of building to this climax of the and then it has the solo. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. I don't know if I can add much more to it other than what you guys said. It breathes. It's his vocals are just amazing in it. Like he's like, I believe what he's saying. Like as like compared to like Don't Let Go. It's like it's much more of
Sure, yeah.
a passionate song. Yeah, I guess.
We're all pro slob.
Pro
Yeah.
slob, yeah.
Yeah.
And the way it's dressed up in this sort of angry way fits so well. But there's a video of Rivers playing it in like 2018
Yeah.
at an acoustic set he played where there are some amazing versions of songs in that set. And he played this song, I guess, as like I don't know if it was a fan request or he decided on it himself. But it had to have been the first time they played it since like the Maladroit era. And he's just playing it on acoustic guitar and he's singing it very delicately, but the melody still sounds so beautiful. And the chords he's playing, even though they're fairly simple, there's some cool stuff where like he's in the key of B minor, but he hits a B flat at one point. But the melody is still so beautiful, just even without like that bit of distortion. So it holds up. It's such a cool song.
Burnt Jam. For me, it's like Island in the Sun meets Saint Ain't So.
Yeah, totally.
It's got those dynamics of like the loud quiet, and it's kind of got that little sort of like groovy Island in the Sun kind of thing going on. Groovy bass. This is like probably the first and maybe the only song that Weezer has had where the chorus is an instrumental. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but at least for this up to this point.
Totally.
Yeah. Got a great groove. It started off as an instrumental, I believe.
It did.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was sort of like partially instrumental because they did have the melody, but they didn't have lyrics. They were just going do 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 do, and the first demo of it, you can hear them making like sound effects in the background that make it sound like they're hitting bongs.
Hitting bongs?
Yeah, it's like you hear.
What will that sound like?
Like you hear like in the back, like it's like it starts like dun 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 dun, and then you hear like either Mikey, because Mikey was in the band when they did the first demo of it. You hear either Mikey or Brian going like,
oh.
This one got Rivers got a fair bit of flack, even though this is a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Rivers got a fair bit of flack on the message boards at the time because it's really, really, really similar to a song called "Breezin" by George Benson.
I think I've heard this. Yes.
Yeah, hang on. I'll show you guys now. You can edit it out so you don't get demonetized. It's more than a passing resemblance. It's pretty. It's not subtle.
The question is, was it on purpose or is this by like?
I don't know. George.
Is it kind of like a wink at the song, or is it actually like I'm going to steal a song and hopefully nobody catches me?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I can't say, but this is it.
God. Have you guys heard that video game music that he is supposedly ripped off for Hash Pipe?
No,
I've not.
I'll find it for you later.
That's the song? No.
Oh yeah,
it's the same, and it's pretty distinct.
Yeah,
like to me, that can't be a coincidence. Like that sounds like it's pretty blatantly ripped off.
Do you know what's being played there? Like, is it unique fingering?
It's yeah. I do know how to play. I haven't played it in a little while, but I do know how to play that, and it's fairly unique. It's not like groundbreaking guitar stuff or whatever, but like it is fairly idiosyncratic, and it's not just in this case. It's not just rhythmically similar. It's also the same notes. Like it's the same rhythm of right, same exact same rhythm, and also exact same notes, and I think in the same key. So it's like. That's like 3 strikes, man.
When I downloaded, I copy and pasted off the internet the lyrics for Maladroit. Burnt Jam was completely wrong, so I'm assuming that they must have had multiple lyrics for it, or now you want me and I need you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They had different. It progressed through the
Okay.
different lyrics.
I guess one of like the issues of like this album was like crowdsourced almost.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a great song. It's like, I guess it's not like my favorite song in the world, but it's like, it's got a good groove. I love the idea that they had a chorus with no words in it.
We saw it live at the Molson Center.
Oh, it was played there?
Feb 15, 2002.
Oh, and another thing too. Actually, at the end of the song too, the ending had the
Oh yeah, Hi Guys. He's up there.
and it reminded me of "Where's My Mind" but by the Pixies.
Yeah.
And like I like how it kind of breaks apart at the end. The drum beat kind of like it's still counting, but it's not playing a full beat. And then like the guitar and the bass are kind of just playing things a little bit softly and kind of like sort of fades out.
This is a fan favorite.
Yeah.
It's when if you read like the rankings that people post for the Maladroit, this one is almost always near the top. My favorite thing about it is the clean guitar tone.
Yeah.
Just that tone of the guitar, I think, is really, really juicy and tasty and full and really nice. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of in the same boat as you. Like, this is a song that I think is pretty good, and I like it, and I like that it's on the album. Provides a nice sort of like change of pace, but it doesn't blow me away. It's sort of, this is like sort of mid-tier Maladroit for me.
Yeah, I think I stand the same way as you do with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I consider this song to be like a sister song to Death and Destruction. I always associate the two. I think because they're both kind of, for the most part, down tempo, and they have this unique guitar-based feel with sparse vocals.
And they're both instrumentals too to start off with.
Yeah, and
they
they kind of feel that way instrumentally, like right when they both start. They're so distinct. So I really love the feel of this song, the way the bass dances around. I love the delicate falsetto vocal melody because we don't really have anything like that on Green. And it's some of my favorite lyrics, like Gothic Flavor, How I Miss You. Like that's, I don't immediately know what that means. I maybe just like, he's just into a goth woman.
I think that's, if I'm recalling correctly, because I feel like the other thing I can do in this podcast is like fill in like the Weezer message board lore,
Yeah.
which I'm really familiar with. That was what was, that's how that has always been interpreted. And I think Rivers, I think there was some interview with Rivers around then where he said something about like, I'm talking with my goth girlfriend online right now to the interviewer.
That's sick. She lives in Canada. You wouldn't know her. But she's real, I swear.
Wait, are you saying that he was actually dating a goth girl at the time?
I think that
He wasn't making a joke. He was there.
No,
Okay.
well, I don't know if he was. I can't speculate as to whether or not he was making a joke. But he told, if I'm recalling correctly, and I think I am, he made reference in one of the interviews around this period to talking with his like goth girlfriend online. So
That's so funny.
and because the interviewer asked him like, because he had like painted nails and he was like presenting a little more gothy, and I think that's how that's the concept, the context within which it came up.
That's sick. Yeah, I love the lyrics for this tune. I love I'd be happy just for one moment of my lifetime. I'd be there. I love that idea of like I would do something just to feel happy ever so briefly. You know, it doesn't even have to last. The only thing that brings this song down for me is the chorus. I love the riff of that big booming riff, and I like the way it transitions, or maybe like the lack of transition. It kind of comes out of nowhere, but I think it fits. My only issue is that we hit that chorus once, then we get a great solo, which has a really cool kind of subtle melody, and I love the clean guitar tone there as well. And then we go back to that chorus part, the instrumental chorus, and it kind of reminds me of Green, where it's just like we've gone somewhere different and now we've taken a step back to where we were, and I don't feel like anything has really changed. Nothing has developed. Like I would love if when we got to that chorus the second time, then there was some vocals. That would be really cool, or something different instrumentally a little bit.
Yeah, writing it down here, this is totally like a green structure. And it's like, other than the fact that the solo is not playing the melody, but yeah, it has the same thing going on.
Yeah, and it has a nice outro too. And I like all the parts. It just ends up feeling like a little bit piecemeal. It kind of feels like I got this cool guitar part based on this song "Breezin'," and then I have this other chorus that, guys, we put this in, no one will notice we're ripping off "Breezin'." So I wrote this totally separately. So it kind of does feel like these two separate parts that they put together, and later on, Weezer does that, and the results are a lot worse, where we'll go from a part that just totally feels like it doesn't fit the part that came before it. And this doesn't really have that, but because there are no vocals and because they hit that part twice, and I still really don't feel like I've learned anything, it does end up lacking a bit. So to me, like, if I could combine Burnt Jam and Death and Destruction, like if the lyrics from Burnt Jam were on Death and Destruction, or if like we had some of like Death and Destruction's vocals on the Burnt Jam chorus, then I would be like
confusing me right
I would
now.
have two wicked songs, or at least one wicked song.
Yeah, one pretty good fucking tune, right? Yeah.
Point is, Death and
Throw
Destruction.
the crab riff in there, and you're pretty much.
Point is, Death and Destruction instrumentally is like A+. Burnt Jam lyrically is A+, and they are all almost there, and in vice versa, but just not quite. But still a great song.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with it. But yeah, I guess we're all gonna agree right now. This is a mid song. It's not gonna be any of our tops or bottoms.
No, I'll throw you
Agreed.
guys all a hint on that one.
Yeah,
This is mid for me.
I enjoy it, but it's like I don't cry over it, I guess.
Yeah.
You don't crab at the booty.
I don't crab over
Don't
it. Yeah.
crab at the jam.
This next song is Space Rock.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ooh-oohs in it, and I also think there's direct references to, I guess, the message boards.
Totally, they're pinning you to boards.
Yeah,
Which is also like a hockey illusion, I suppose.
Oh,
as
good
well.
point.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. That's really cool.
they
And
know
also a butterfly collecting illusion.
Oh yeah,
Shit.
shit. I mean, the lyrics are they know it all, and they're pinning you to the boards.
Mm-hmm.
You want to cry when you're dealing with the kids.
Yeah.
I totally think this is like him struggling to try to satisfy his like main
His
like,
hardcore little bitches.
hardcore bit little bitches.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. What's great with this song too is that like I read it as like an A solo B, like it's a very straightforward one compared to other songs. I enjoy the drumming in it. It's super short. I wish I could say more about it. It's really tight coming in, coming out, and it's like it's not going to play to that same structure as like all the other songs. Well, not all the other songs in general, but just like in this kind of era.
There's a longer version. It was originally a longer song when they first demoed it.
How did it go?
It was essentially just like another verse and chorus. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Yeah.
This one was the first time I heard this was again before the Maladroit sessions. I knew this one before they started the sessions formally because they'd released the demos. They did this at a studio in in Seattle called Glen Sound. So they released this thing called the Glen Sound demos that was Slave, a short a short structure of Space Rock, like the one that wound up on the album, a long version of Space Rock, and then another instrument. They were writing a lot of instrumentals around then. An instrumental called Cygnus X1 that's pretty cool. I'm gonna put a pin in it for now because I just wanted to address that because you're like it's really short, and I was like, oh yeah, no, there's this other version of it too. I'm gonna put a pin in it for now because I'm super curious to hear what you think of Space Rock.
This one, since I first listened to the album, a year or two ago, and then even with my heavy listening over the last few weeks, this one has always been the most forgettable to me. But I really, really like it. And for some reason, it's not until I think like the last few listens that I've really been able to remember what tune it is, remember like what it does. And I really like what it does. I love the intro guitar, whatever melody is played there. is like just one of my favorite melodies. Dude, it like kind of sounds like it would be in like an emo song or something.
I've always read that it was, and I don't know how true this is. This is just like message board lore. I've never heard Rivers confirm this, but I've always read that is supposed to be simulating a dial-up modem.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, right.
Wow,
Yeah.
dude, he's logging on to the boards.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
crazy.
That's cool.
I believe that, yeah.
And I think part of why it didn't stick out to me, and again, it wasn't because I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't really think anything of it. It's short, and then also the verses, he's singing them all in like really high falsetto, and it's in such a wall of sound. Whereas in Burnt Jam, even though he's in falsetto, his vocals are right there because the music is very sparse. But here it's a wall of sound, and he's singing falsetto, so it's kind of hard for me to even recognize, like, is this still the intro? Is this a verse? And then the chorus comes and goes so quickly. But now that I've listened to it more, I really dig it. I think it has totally killer lyrics. I think it's like such a cool statement of a song to put out. I'm kind of a sucker for songs that are like pushing back on fame, you know, like Corduroy by Pearl Jam does that same sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think this one does that. I agree with Kev that the drums are awesome. There's like a really cool kick part Pat does on the when all they do is say lies, and he goes
Yeah.
So I think this is a really cool kind of like sleeper hit of a tune.
Totally. I agree. I always liked it from the first time I heard that first Glenn Sound demo. I thought it was really, really, really cool. It has one of my favorite moments on Maladroit, which is when it first goes into the chorus. It gets so heavy for a second. Like, you wanna go when they're pinning, boom. Like the fucking guitars really get heavy for a second there.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. It sounds so good. Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about it a fair bit here, so I could probably move on. I'm probably ready to move on, but I think it's a killer song. And this is a divisive one on the boards. A lot of people don't like it and think it's trash. I've never agreed with that. I think it's a cool, really cool tune.
Maybe the reason why the boards are shitting on it is the ooh, 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 ooh,
Yeah.
like that's probably the weakest part of the song, but like I love the na 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 na.
It's so good. It's such an
again,
effective hook.
and you'll play, but you can't like.
And Brian's in the back, like, and you'll play. Right?
Yeah.
Totally.
So yeah, like I'm not shitting on it. I'm just saying that like maybe the reason people are shitting on it is the who's are just like not working for people. I don't know. That's my guess. The next song is Slave. What's kind of funny actually is that like I don't remember what my list is right now. I have it in my pocket, so
Okay.
I'm just giving my natural reaction to each song. So maybe they won't match up in the end. I don't know.
Another way for Kev to throw us off.
But like I'm just like my honest reaction. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. So Slave. Okay, first of all, the opening of this song, is there a modulation from the beginning part to the verse?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
But he's tricking you a little bit at the start.
Now. I'm barely like
Yeah. So the song is in the key of A,
yeah.
but he never really takes you to. You never really get to experience it as being in the key of A just because of some of the chords that he's using. Like at the start, he's the first chord you hear in the song is B minor,
Yeah.
right? Which is a chord in the key of A, right?
Uh-huh.
But you're gonna kind of think at first that the song's in B minor, right?
That's why I'm probably hearing it.
Yeah. But then when you get into the verses are quite obviously in the key of A. But he doesn't start on A. He starts on D major 7. So it's this really ambiguous song in terms of what key it's in. It's not ambiguous if you look at the melody and the chords, and it's obviously in A. Except for at the end, because you could make an argument that he's just borrowing that G at the end from from A minor. Regardless,
Yeah.
it's not ambiguous once you sort of study it for a little bit, but just listening to it, it sounds ambiguous. It's like you're never really totally sure where home is.
Yeah, like it never feels jarring, like the quote unquote modulations, but like it feels like something's happening. I'm not quite sure what it is.
Yeah. So I think what you're hearing there is just that he's never really clearly announcing the home chord to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? He's kind of always leaving it a little bit obscured. So it means that your ear is kind of always guessing like, where's home? Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Liam, what are your thoughts on this song?
This song was a standout to me early on. I just love the 'cause I can't change now. That's the same sort of walk down melody that my ear just gravitates to.
And Brian does a beautiful harmony there as well. It's
Yeah.
a really nice one.
Oh my gosh. And I really love in contrast to some of the stuff on Green, again, I hate to keep kicking it, but it really puts into perspective the way that some of these songs can work when you just tweak things. This song starts with that sweeping build and then just that pounding riff, and Pat is walloping on the cymbal, and then it opens up into a much more delicate verse, which is unexpected, and then that part is reused as the bridge, which is sort of a Green Album technique. You open the guitar doing the bridge, but they have managed to use this really heavy guitar part as like a delicate bridge. It's not what you think it's gonna be when you start hearing the song. I don't really know how they did that.
Man, I was trying to figure that out. I was like, is the solo following the opening part? I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, why does it sound so familiar? It's the bridge part. Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And there's vocals on top of it.
Yeah. Things will never try.
Yeah. So I love it. I love the lyrics and all the melodies. I think tagging every line or almost every line with slave. I don't know why he says when you're on your own. I think you can see things.
Yeah.
I don't really get that. I don't know why it's not slave.
Everybody always points that out on the boards as being like a really weird line.
but
he's saying it's because that's just half the sentence.
Clear.
Yeah. So I always when you're on your own, you can see things clear as a bell.
Yeah. I like the lyric, but it's just every other
That's
line.
the only one that doesn't end with slave.
It's ended with slave. But I really love the use of slave, and I read the lyrics as being sort of about the same thing that Take Control was, where it's like a breakup song, but in this case, it's about thinking about those memories of the relationship and not really being able to move on because that love is still there, even though you're not together anymore. You know, love barely alive, but you're a slave to the memories that you have and the feelings, because even though the situation has changed, you can't change your feelings, which also might be why they broke up, because rivers can't change, right? He says that in the chorus. So I think this is just a really, really pretty tune.
Have you heard the acoustic versions and stuff?
I've heard the one they did for Spotify
a
few years ago.
Yeah, that's emblematic of the acoustic versions.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty much it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Just like Slob, it's one where it totally works when you just pull the parts out and it just as just hear the foundation of the song. But the way that they do it here, like, I think a lesser band would not be able to balance that really heavy intro with the rest of the song. They would probably just stick to the more delicate verse and chorus. So
that's how they originally did it. The demo of Slave, like the first one that came out, which was like November 01, doesn't have the intro. It just goes straight into Love Barely Alive, and Pat's kind of doing like a pulse on the cymbal. Like it's like love barely alive in your arms, slave dreams taken to right. It worked. It was pretty good, but and it wasn't until late in the game that I think that might have been a Pro Tools thing, honestly.
Wow.
Because like late in the game that intro got added on.
So they just paste it from another part of the song?
I think so.
Because it has the beginning of that little it kind of like sort of like erupts.
Yeah, I think that's to cover up the editing.
Ah, you're probably right. Hey, holy shit.
Because I'm talking like late in the game that intro appeared. I've always really liked Slave. Historically, it's always been like in my top 3 on Maladroit for all the reasons you've said. I'm also just going to point out right now, Kev, that we're at 27 minutes.
Okay.
But I will say that as I was doing all my listening, preparing for this, Slave dropped. So something has changed for me in my psychology in terms of how I experience Maladroit, because up to when I wrote out my like pre-listen ranking of the album, Slave was in the top 4 for sure. And it's dropped now. I don't know why. I found myself not as, maybe it's because I also had just spent a ton of time listening to the Green album, and this is one of the greenest songs on it, in my opinion, in terms of the structure and its sort of vibe. Maybe I was just a little bit tired of the Green sound. I don't know. I just didn't have as big a response to it. The demo version, also in my opinion, the demo version of it had a way more melodic solo. So every time I hear the album solo, I'm always just a little disappointed that it doesn't do this other thing that I heard in the demo.
Okay.
Yeah, it's again. This is one that surprised me because if for the last Jesus Christ, the numbers start to scare you. How long has it been? Like since this came out,
21 years.
21 years. For the last 21 years.
Did you buy the album for a nickel when it came out?
I bought it on the day it came out.
Okay, but
it was snowing in Ottawa on that day, May 14th. I'll always remember that. It was snowing. For the last 21 years, if you had asked me, I would have told you that this is one of my favorite songs on Maladroit. But it has. That's the only thing I really have to add is that this one surprised me, and wasn't digging it as much this time.
Just to give you a quick hint, I'm just going to be like, I don't think I gave this number 1, but I gave it high. So you can probably just scratch it off. I enjoyed the song a lot. I don't have a lot to say about it. I just really enjoyed it. I guess like sometimes there's not a lot for me to say about it. Like I just enjoyed it. Like nothing bothered me about it. Maybe that's probably a better way to put it.
Okay.
So this is kind of mid for you. This is sort of a little bit of a mid Maladroit song for you.
I know. It very well could be in my, it's definitely in my top 7. So here's a song called Fall Together. Mm-hmm. This might be a bit controversial.
This is the best Weezer song of all time.
Yes, exactly. This is like the peak of their career. they hit their strong point, and everything after this is shit. No, I think this is a great song, and like it's super. I shouldn't say it's super heavy. It's heavy, you know.
Pretty heavy. Yeah.
I read that he offered this to Ozzy Osbourne.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's why I like it.
Ozzy turned it down. What a.
Could have been the high point of his career too.
Yeah, it could have been.
I said it's the most sinister sounding song they ever made. And I think it's kind of a precursor to like songs like We're All in Drugs. Kind of like some of their songs kind of like get this sort of like weird, dark, atonal kind of tone a little bit. I think it's kind of like the beginning of it. Well, not the song is atonal, but like, I don't know. Everybody Get Dangerous? Maybe not. I don't know. But it kind of like introduces this kind of like different kind of Weezer feel to me.
Sure.
But I hate We Are All in Drugs.
Yeah.
And I like this song.
Yeah.
I think that this is the best solo on the album. I love this solo so much. It's like wah. It's that wah kind of thing going on, and it's like I don't know.
The end word.
Yeah, it's I love it.
And Pat is doing a lot of like drum changes while it's happening.
Yeah,
really cool.
I'm pretty sure. Is there not the in that solo? Is there not like the drums kind of getting this kind of more like military kind of beat towards the end of it?
They do, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's the one. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm like I've heard so many songs. I'm like I'm pretty sure this is the one. Okay, yeah. Liam, your thoughts?
This one, when I first heard it, it stood out because of that chorus. I love the backing vocals. I love when a chorus is anchored by just a good like sustained backing vocal, and that's what happens here. They're just like holding like ahs and oohs. And I love River's main vocal. And then at some point it dropped down for me, I think because the verses are like so abrasive and like kind of cocky, right? And this sort of like definitely like a hard rock riff. To quote
Simple Pages.
No, I was thinking of I think the Prince Who Wanted Everything.
Oh yeah.
But now it's come back up again for me. I really love the swagger of the riff. I've totally gotten into it. I love the drum sound at the beginning.
Yep.
Like it's just so big. You can feel yourself in the room. You know, you said this album doesn't feel claustrophobic, and I totally agree. And I love the outro where they're doing that descending thing. It's like they go, yeah, do do do, yeah, do 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 do. Just a hard stop. I think this is just like a really cool rocker, a short rocker to have at the end of the album. I love it.
Agreed. This is one that I my relationship with it has changed over time. When they first put it out, I thought this was sort of like American Gigolo. I thought this was a weaker song. Mm-hmm. That I never would have ranked it high if over the last 2 decades. I would, but when I was doing my listening for this one, I think because it's so different from the Green album, and I was getting tired of the Green album. This one really struck me this time around. These few sort of sessions I had with Maladroit for to get prepared for this episode. I was like, "Fuck, this thing is this fucking song goes hard, man! Like this is a fucking cool song." I don't have a ton to add. I think that it is for sure one of the best solos on the album. It's so bombastic and ballsy and dramatic and I don't know. He was writing a lot of these kinds of songs around then. If you look at like the Maladroit sessions, there's a ton of them that are like 2 minutes long and they fucking rock. And then it's just over, right? There's like at least 4 or 5 of them that are very much on this blueprint as well. I always thought it would have been really cool to open the album with one of those songs. There's one in particular I'm thinking of called Your Room that would have been a killer opener to Maladroit. Very cool tune, and it's got my opinion of it has improved over time, big time.
It's not a song that I would look for as a Weezer song. But I don't know. It's like it's so strong. Like I love this song. Like I would expect another band like maybe Ozzy Osbourne even to be playing it, and I would love it for them to play it. But like for some reason, I don't know what it is. Like when I first heard it, I didn't even think much about it. But yeah, when I came back to it, like yeah, I'm like I'm super. I always loved the solo, and now I'm like it's super tight, and it's like it works for me.
I've read that it's Pat's favorite song on the album.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Or at least it was at the time.
Oh, nice.
He said that, yeah.
This album deserves a lot of credit for like, I don't know if it's like Pat was being more inventive or he was allowed to be more inventive on this album.
I think it was that.
There's a lot more like interesting drumming, a lot more like great, like amazing rhythms and just like this song. Yeah, my point was that this song like follows the same structure as all those Green album songs does, but I still love it. Like it's like it, even though it's following that structure, it's working great. Like
it goes to show that there's nothing wrong with that structure.
There's nothing wrong with the structure.
It's just what do you do with the structure?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. If you're just gonna do like a do like the same like 4/4 beat, simple like do. Well, I mean, obviously we weren't doing that, but like in that kind of like, if you offer like some great variety, it can be fun.
Mm-hmm.
The next song
Possibilities?
is a controversial. No, wait, yeah, it is the controversial song. Yes.
This is fairly divisive.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a divisive song.
Who wants to start with it? I don't know.
You guys tell me why it's controversial. Just in the fan community?
Yeah,
People like it?
they don't like it.
I know they shit on this one. Yeah,
Big time.
Yeah,
Big time.
definitely.
I remember hearing it for the first time on Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
Yeah, 2001.
Wow.
After I was done opening the gifts with my family and stuff, I logged onto the Weezer boards because, again, I knew what my priorities were as a teenager.
Yeah.
And this was how I found out that they were posting the demos, or not even the demos. They were posting the Maladroit sessions as they were going.
Yeah.
And this was one of the first songs I heard from the Maladroit sessions. I like it. It has the verse is extremely catchy. It's got a ton of energy. It's got like a really interesting kind of like mix of like a kind of a punky. It sounds very much like a punk song, but like the lead guitar is like almost bluesy. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
And there's no denying that there's modulation going on in this song.
Oh, for sure. It's
Yeah,
musically very, very interesting, especially in the outro. And it's got this energy that really kind of crackles that I really like. It's very lively sounding.
Yeah.
I don't know that I rate it highly, but it's not because I don't like it. It's because there's a lot of other songs that I like more, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it deserves the fucking vitriol it gets from the online community. It totally mystifies me. The only thing I don't really like about it is that there's times where I find that Rivers' vocals, when he goes up into the higher part of his voice in this song, I feel like it's not off key. It's not like off pitch, but it's just like the placement of his voice and the tone that he's using, I find irritating. Like it kind of grates me a little bit. But other than that, I'm pro possibilities. Yeah.
You're pro the possibilities.
Yeah.
Should I go?
You have at it.
All right, I'll have at it. Yeah, no, I don't have any anger towards this song. And I have a fun time hearing it when I hear it, but I don't want to replay it, I guess. Like I appreciate it has a lot of like nice, like it's sort of like the pendulum swings both ways. Like this is like super bland, and this is kind of like swinging like so much like almost all over the place. Like like it has like the kind of Surf Wax America like fast beat in certain parts, and like I love like the ending keeps rising and stuff, and like it has like it's like a very unique outro. Yeah, I got no hate for it. I mean, I don't have any hate for any of the songs on this album at all. It's just like, I guess it doesn't tickle my fancy. I don't know what to say exactly. Like it's nothing wrong with it.
You don't find your fancies in the night with this
Yeah,
song?
you're not feeling fancies with it?
I would love to see. And you guys want to cover this song, perhaps?
They did it live a couple times.
Yeah.
Weezer did. Yeah.
Really? I thought I read that this was the oldest song that they haven't performed live.
No, there's unless I'm really misremembering, which there's always a chance that could happen.
Yeah.
But I think there's one live version of it from Japan in 2002.
Wow. Okay.
I think so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is just a driving kind of pop punk song, perhaps. The first time I heard the album, this was actually like one of my immediate favorites, just because that melody that just smacks you in the face right away. I love that.
Yeah, that's what hooked me too.
And I love the call and response there. It has grown off me quite a bit, or at least I don't know if it grew off me, because I still love that melody. I think it's just the other songs on the album that I wasn't initially as high on revealed themselves to me, and I found things that I really, really liked about them that pushed them up. Whereas Possibilities, I haven't really found those things. It's sort of just stayed at that general liking place, and it hasn't totally ascended. But But I have no clue why this would be a hated song. I think it's a really pleasant melody. I think the solo is catchy, and I like that the snare hangs back for a bit before coming in. Yeah,
Totally.
I really like the climax. I need you, I bleed you now. I love that. I like the give it all away call and response. Like that seems like classic Weezer to me, or at least like it reminds me of like Dope Nose and Keep Fishing and stuff. I like that the vocals like really kind of get shouted and aggressive in the backing vocals before they finish that part with the you're gone to stay. I really dig that. I think the thing that mostly brings it down for me, or at least the thing that doesn't bring it much higher for me, is just the lyrics. I think they're serviceable. I like the way they sound, but when I actually dig into them, I don't think there's
not a lot there.
Not really a lot. Sort of similar to Death and Destruction, but I still think it's a driving good tune that I'm glad is on the album.
The one final thing, I'm not sure if this is accurate based on the lyrics. So it goes, "I need you,
I bleed you."
I bleed you.
And I thought it was to say, "I need you now." It actually was. You can actually hear him say, "I bleed you now."
I need you. I bleed you. Yeah, that's totally it.
Wow. I mean, what is that? What's that all about?
I don't know.
I think I feel like it's just kind of a dramatic way to say you're super into someone, like they run through your veins.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I can see that. I was like, what the fuck is that all about? Okay.
That's about all there is to
Yeah.
it.
We're on to Love Explosion.
Love Explosion.
Which was not called Love Explosion until late in the game. It was called Do You Want Me to Stay, I think.
I guess the lyrics must have changed too, right?
Maybe at a certain point, but I think he just picked like a different phrase to title the song. It used to be a lot slower too, and people used to shit on this one because it apparently sounds quite a bit like the Locomotion.
I've noticed that.
Maurice pointed it out today when I was listening to it.
That was
like, what song is that? It's the Locomotion. I'm
that was immediately noticeable to me, and that has taken me a while to get over. I wish that I didn't know Locomotion, but it was on one of those. There was a Donkey Kong music game when I was a kid, where like it was like Guitar Hero, but with little bongo drums on GameCube.
Yeah.
It had Locomotion on there, so I've known the song, and it sounds really, really similar. I looked it up online to see if Rivers had commented on it, because I thought it was so similar that he would have had to say like it was inspired by it. And I have to think that the title was changed as like a reference to it.
To Locomotion.
Because it's the same syllables.
Love Explosion. Yeah,
the same.
True. Good call.
And they don't say Locomotion, or they definitely don't say Locomotion, but they don't say Love Explosion in the main lyrics. It's in the background with Brian. Yeah. And so I've got to think that like that was a last second addition as like a reference to it.
Yeah.
You could be right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has one of the only, so like I honestly I could live, this is one that I could live without. I don't hate it, but I could kind of live without it, except I think it has, and this is like hard for me to do because there's some amazing guitar work on this album. I think it has the best solo on the album. Yeah. It's like this endless climb up the fucking scale. And then when it gets to the top, he does this wicked run back down, right? So it's sort of like a combination of pretty much everything I love about the solos on Maladroit. Like it starts off really simple and kind of melodic and not really too complex, and then it goes into this big climb up the scale.
Yeah, I wrote hilarious shredding solo. I love it.
Yeah, and then as I said, once it gets to the top of this like seemingly endless climb, he does this really technical, quick, sort of bluesy run back down, right? It's just really cool. So I could live without it, except that would mean that I would have to live without it solo, and that would be unacceptable. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I'm at with Love Explosion. Oh, it also has nice slide guitar too. That's the Brian's busting out the slide on that one.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, there's slide guitar all over it.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, next time you listen to it, like listen for the slide. It's pretty prominent.
I can't think of it.
It's all the bull that people say.
Oh shit.
Doesn't matter what they say.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm convinced now that Love Explosion was Locomotion, because what in the hell is going on with the lyrics in this song? They've been wanting to kill you in your sleep, and this song is called Love Explosion. That does not make any sense at all.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but I love that lyric. It's just so abrasive in perhaps like the happiest, poppiest sounding song on the album. So I think that's so cool.
Also, I think Rivers might have been a little bit clairvoyant. They love to call you their names. There was a movie that came out, Call Me By Your Name.
That's right, yeah.
Later on in life. Possible? No. Is Rivers a time traveling
Well, there was
critic?
There was that conspiracy that Rivers is Kurt Cobain. So maybe he's also a time traveling film critic.
Take a load off and bow. I don't know. Something that I really appreciate about this song is the opening riff. Well, means that the verse riff. It has it like a little bit of this kind of like, I'm gonna call them pull offs, but I can't hum the guitar lines. Forgive me, but you know what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
Take a load off.
Yeah.
It's almost country rock.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of nice. It's very sugar sweet. Got no hate for it.
I was really high on this song just like a week ago.
Yeah.
I love that bouncy feel in the chorus where every beat is just the snare.
Yeah.
I love that sort of bouncing thing. I just think they're really catchy melodies. I also love the solo. And once I listened to it enough that I was no longer thinking of Locomotion and it's just sounded like the melody to Love Explosion, I really like that chorus melody. I think it's starting to fade off me, maybe just because I've really listened to this album so much just in the last few days. So it's faded off me a little bit. But I still really appreciate how bouncy this song is. And of anything, I would expect that this would be the most hated song on the record as opposed to Possibility.
Pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
I read that Pat said in 2009 it was their worst song.
Oh, yeah, right. Really?
Which I think is ridiculous, especially in 2009.
Yeah, no, in 2009 they were doing some pretty questionable fucking shit. So.
Yeah. And then Carl agreed with him.
Oh, Carl. Bad take, Carl.
Wait, what about what was the song that Pat did on the Red album?
Automatic.
Yeah, he considered that better than okay. Well,
You must. Yeah, you must.
I'm Carl, if you see this, that's a poor take, bud.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I don't agree at all. I do understand someone putting this at the bottom of their album ranking just because it is quite different than the other songs and it is very, very poppy.
And very, very derivative of
absolutely
of a really well-known song.
Absolutely. But I'm not exactly there with them. I get a lot of joy out of this song. It was stuck in my head for a long time, and I liked having it stuck in my head. And the lyrics are peculiar in the verses, and then also just like sweet in the choruses. Get out, and give me a kiss. I think that's kind of sweet. So I dig it.
Yeah, I used to love it a lot more than I do now, but the moment you pointed out Locomotion, Love Explosion, I'm like, yes. I was going to say, like, this song reminds me of something from, like, the 60s, and people are going to kind of, like, twist their bodies like this in the chorus. Yeah. Like, Locomotion was probably in the 70s, maybe?
I think maybe even early 80s.
Okay, yeah, like...
But late 70s, I think, early 80s.
I picture people dancing like this. But yeah, so kind of... I was like, was it that Twist and Shout song?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The Beatles did a cover of it.
Yeah.
I kind of thought of that too a little bit. Anyway, no hate, but yeah, I'm kind of distancing myself from it a bit.
No hate explosion.
Then the last song is December. I don't know who wants to handle the introduction of this one. Should I do it? I don't know.
Pat wants to handle the introduction with the Beverly Hills intro.
Yeah, the Beverly Hills intro, exactly.
This is one that, in my opinion, I want us to do again. I want us to do one day a talk about some of the Maladroit demos and sessions and things like that.
Yeah.
This is one that in my humble opinion has a far superior demo that was done the previous summer. Summer 2001 for the BBC. They did like a BBC session when they were on tour, and they did a version of December, which is the first one I heard. I heard it that summer when they posted it on their website, and it's very much like it sounds like a Buddy Holly song, like doom doom doom. It's clean. The guitars are completely clean. They're arpeggiated. It sounds like a true 50s ballad. And it doesn't get dynamic until it's only natural. Then it comes sort of crashing in. And then it just goes away again. And it's this really quiet, really subtle, sort of like 50s ballad feel that really, really works. I loved it when I first heard it. And I don't mind the Maladroit version, but I remember when I heard what they'd done with it, I was like, even as like a 16-year-old like super fan who thought Weezer could do no wrong, I was like, no, yeah, you guys fucked up. You had a really, 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 really beautiful song, and you've kind of mucked it up a little bit here.
A feeling you would have to get used to over the next 2 decades.
21 years of my life, yeah.
I'll push back a bit. I love this tune, and I have heard those versions because I love this tune. What really struck me was just the vocal melodies. Totally. Only love, only love. I absolutely love it. I love the sensitivity of it. And so from doing some reading, I had heard about these other demos, and I checked out some live versions. And now I'm sort of at a midpoint between where you are and where I was, where there are some aspects of these demo versions that I wish so badly were on this. Like, I'm a sucker for the arpeggiated, like 50s guitar. I love that sort of music. And the fact that they substituted that for just the power chords, the crunchy power chords on the album really bums me out. I think it still feels nice, and the vocal melody goes a really long way. But to take away the arpeggio totally, like it's not even there on the record at all.
At all, yeah.
And it's such a bummer. And there are a lot of other cool guitar parts, like they do that cool little walk down. That's in there, but I really miss the arpeggio. But what I do love about the album version that I don't feel about the demo versions is I feel like in the demo, he hadn't quite locked in some of where the vocal melodies resolve. Like it sounds like he's when he says only love, only, and in the demo version I feel like he's not quite landing it the way he does on the album. And same where he says in December, I think on the demo one he kind of does in December, but on the album he goes down in December, something like that.
Yeah.
I just feel like in the album version, he really figured out the vocal melody and lands them all perfectly for me. That being said, I really do miss the arpeggios from the demo. And I also think in the demo, because you're going from the arpeggio to that big bridge, it's only natural. That part feels like such a transcendent moment in the demo. And I still feel like it is a great moment in the album version because the songwriting is so good, like the actual chords and the melody is so good, but I do miss some of the dynamics. But that being said, like I think the vocal melodies and just the actual structure of the song is so solid that I still really love the album version.
I just want to point out that this is like a 6/8
6/8
timing.
I love the 6/8.
It's and also to the same extent that this is kind of like, to me, I think that like I'm gonna say arpeggio, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't use this language a lot, but yeah. So the arpeggio version, like I can imagine an amazing version of this being written with that climax being you give your best away. Like that's when they actually rock hard, and the rest is kind of like building to that. And the way they present the song right here, I mean, yeah. Aside from like the fact that I think, yeah, I haven't heard the other versions, but figuring out the vocal melody is a very important part. So give them credit for that. But like, there's a song called "Waiting on You."
Sure.
That's kind of like a stronger version of this kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And like now I'm starting to, after you guys are discussing this arpeggiated version of it, I can totally like hear the song being like this amazing, beautiful song kind of riding on that. Like there's nothing wrong with the song. Just like, yeah, I guess like it feels like it's too greenified.
It does. It feels really similar to me to "Oh Girlfriend," where like if they had just pulled back on sticking to the crunchy power chord thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like that's why I had a tough time getting into "Oh Girlfriend" originally, because it sounded a lot like the other tunes on the album. And this one, I think just because I prefer the melody a bit, I was able to get into it more quickly than I was "Oh Girlfriend." But if it had been that arpeggiated guitar right from the beginning, I would have been like, this is the best song of all time.
Yeah. This is the first song where I ever had to figure out, this is the first time in my entire life that I ever actively thought about, something, it's not in 4/4, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember trying to figure it out and learning it and intuitively being able to play it. But I remember trying to write a song kind of inspired by it. Like I wanted to write a song that had that kind of picking pattern in it. And when I tried to do that, I remember I couldn't figure out how to do it. I was like, what? I was like, because up until this point, I pretty much had only played Nirvana songs, and they're very 4/4, you know what I mean? Even though they can be quite syncopated. And I had to, I can't remember how I did it, but I somehow kind of just was like, if you count it in 6, it works, right? If you go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it works, right? Yeah. Yeah. First time for me.
I don't remember my first time playing in 6/8, but it must have been special. But I totally do it all the time. Yes.
Cool.
I love that. I love that idea of just like going up to someone in a music store who's like trying to play Suzanne by Weezer. They're struggling, and you're like, "Is it your first time? First time at 6/8?" I remember those days.
You want to go to the back and play 5/4 with me?
And I do like that this song feels like a closer to me. Just with the melodies and the repetition of "Only Love," which is something, love is a word that he's used so much on the album. But this really does feel like a resolution. I think the lyrics are really sweet here. I like the dueling guitar solo, and I like that the song builds and then releases, and it's just repeating "Only Love." And he also ends by doing like a little
he hums. Yeah,
so beautiful. And I also really like Pat's fill at the beginning of each chorus. In the demo, he'll skip the snare in the live versions, and he just hits the cymbals, which is really cool. Boom. And he does a similar thing in the album version, but instead of hitting the cymbals, he does like a drum roll thing. Only and then he catches back up to the beat. And I think both versions are cool.
Nice, yeah. I got nothing else to say about it, really.
It feels good to me.
So okay, we got to write our own. I got to pull up my. I don't even know what I like anymore. I gotta write it down.
You ready to do this?
I'm ready.
Want to change the order? As I was guest first last time.
Yeah, we can change it.
Yeah.
So we're getting top or bottom.
Let's do bottom first.
Okay.
Want me to go?
Yeah.
I'll do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is, this one's tricky.
Mm-hmm.
These are always tricky, but okay. Liam, you're really tough this time because you clearly like this album a lot, and you did not talk a whole lot of trash about really anything.
Yeah, I feel bad for you guys this time. I didn't make it easy.
You seem pretty excited. You seem pretty stoked about most of the stuff. So I'm taking a bit of a shot in the dark with in terms of what your least favorite could be. I'm basing this on the fact that it was the only real complaint that I heard you sort of offer, and I'm going with Burnt Jam as your least favorite. You seem to really take issue with the instrumental chorus. It seemed to really bring down the song for you. You sort of talked about how much you liked the lyrics, but it seemed like you seemed. It was the only time I heard you say like, yeah, I've kind of heard this before. Like it was like the Green Album syndrome, right? Of like, I know what's going to come next. I'm not confident in that guess, but I'm going to lock it in to avoid wringing my hands for half an hour over it.
Okay.
Likewise, Kevin.
Wait. I went to guess on his too.
I thought I was guessing both of your worst. No, okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, yeah, right, got it.
I'm gonna guess Keep Fishing. You got nothing nice to say about the song? That's at least I forgot to write it down. I don't know.
I have nothing nice to say about it, you said?
That's how I recall it. I mean, that's the way I wrote it down. Is that there's nothing nice you had to say? What's the?
Yeah, I'm dying to know.
I'm doing you guys so dirty here. Both great guesses.
Yeah.
And you never would have been able to guess it, but I just love this album so much that it's actually American Gigolo.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, you didn't speak anything bad about that. I don't think. Maybe you did, but I didn't. I forgot.
No, you praised it.
I did praise it. It's literally, it just comes down to I like things about every song on this album, and so this song, while I like everything about it, it doesn't have the high points of the other songs. Like it all adds up to being a good song, whereas Burnt Jam, which is totally fair, that's a really good guess, but the parts of Burnt Jam that I do like make me like it more than this tune, just because the parts are high enough. Whereas American Gigolo kind of falls by the wayside for me, just from not having like huge highs, even though I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Very surprising.
Yeah.
We should do you next. No?
Me? Yeah. Sure.
All right. For the low, I'll do first.
Okay.
My guess is Possibilities.
Okay.
You talk a lot of smack about that song.
I talked the most smack about it, probably.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I wrote that down. Yeah, I thought it was very
but
peculiar.
You did end your smack talk with the quote, "I am pro possibilities."
I missed that part. I wasn't paying attention.
I'm also pro American Gigolo. Sometimes it's just a good album.
Yeah.
Okay, my guess for Sandy is a tough one. I settled on Love Explosion. Even though it has your favorite solo on the record, it was the only time I think you said you could take or leave the song. You're not actually crazy about the song. And I'm just hoping that even though you love the solo as a whole, the rest of the song is enough to make it your bottom.
Okay. Well, those are both super good guesses.
But wrong.
Don't like the sounds of this.
Both super, super, super good guesses. Unfortunately, only one of them is right.
Oh, the locomotion.
The locomotion.
Oh, okay. What the fuck? I'm like, oh my god, that song. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
yeah, Liam gets one.
Like, that really does speak to how sick this album is. That like your least favorite song has such a sick part in it.
Also has one of my favorite parts of the whole album. Right, for sure.
Cool.
Totally.
All right,
Kevin.
Kev.
Yeah, K-Shed.
All right, I struggled with your least favorite. I feel like I have a better grasp on your favorite. Least favorite, I went with Keep Fishin'. I think you like it. But you did say that it's more mid, and I think a mid on this album puts it at the bottom because it's a good album.
Right. Yeah. So this was tricky. I'm wavering between two. I'm wavering still now, and I'm not too sure what to do. Because you did say that Keep Fishing was boring. And that you didn't really find it particularly exciting. That's pretty much the only bad thing you said about anything on this album. There's a couple other ones where you said I don't hate it or whatever, but that was the only one. That was the only one where you said like I kind of got the impression you didn't like it. I'm gonna lock in Keep Fishing as well.
What's the other one you were considering?
Love Explosion.
That's fair enough. That's what I would think too.
Well, you got it. It is Keep Fishing.
Cool.
Sick.
All right, so you both get a point.
Nice.
Cool.
Liam, you're now in the lead,
Okay.
and me and Sandy are tied for second.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So Liam, your best song, I'm gonna guess is Dope Nose out of nowhere. No,
Just like Randy Orton.
no. I mean, like I wrote notes about everything, and like totally bad. I honestly don't know. I'm taking a shot in the dark.
Okay. This is really, really challenging because you had something positive to say about every single song on this album. I feel like your excitement about it is really infectious, and I love it. But it's making this really, really, really hard. For me, it came down to again. I'm kind of still right now trying to figure out what I really think. It's between two songs for me right now. I'm gonna lock in Slob as a potential pick here. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna guess Slob. That's my guess.
What was the other one you were considering?
Take Control.
Sandy got it.
Oh,
It is
man.
Slob. You killed it. Yeah, it wasn't easy. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna say Slob. It was easy. It was. That one is just a cut above the rest for me. I think Rivers' vocal performance is really what pushes it above. But I'll say quickly, Take Control is my number 2.
Yeah.
So you had it.
Damn. Okay, so I had Slob and Dope Nose as number ones, and I had to scratch one out. So anyway,
Yeah, you got it.
I was close, kind of close, but not quite.
Okay.
All
Maybe let's guess Sandy here.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I guess I'll go first here.
Yeah.
And my guess is actually Slob, which might be wrong now because it was his number one. But maybe it's just.
I really like Slob. I do think it's a great song.
But all right, anyway.
Yeah. So what Sandy said, he really liked Slob, and I couldn't tell if it was I'm going to understate how much I like this one just so I don't give it away, or if it was like I really do really like this song, but it's not the number one. Because it could have been either way. And so past Liam from 5 minutes ago, when I wrote down my guess, decided that it was genuine, that you really like Slob, but it's not your number one. And I wrote down that it's Take Control.
Okay. You guys have both made, again, very, very good guesses. You're very good listeners. You've obviously been picking up the right stuff, but unfortunately, only one guess is right, and it's Take Control.
Oh man!
Cool.
Yep.
Was that
shit.
a clear number one?
No. It when you see my ranking, you're probably going to be a little surprised. It was actually between that and Dope Nose for number one.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Dope Nose is a really good embodiment kind of everything that Maladroit is. Like, I think if you just played somebody that song, they'd get a pretty good sense of what the album's all about. I also think it's really, really catchy musically, and I love the guitar tone. Like, it's like so thick and satisfying. But Take Control is it's a more nuanced song. It's got really good melodies. It has a really good solo, and again, when it drops down into that bridge and just fucking starts chugging, I'm there.
Nice.
I'm there for that. Yeah.
That's what made me pick it for you when you talked about how much you love that bridge. Cool.
You got it.
All right, Kev.
Oh, so you're
Your
guessing
number one pick.
We got it. Yeah, now we're guessing yours.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So this is tough, Kev. There are a lot of A lot of tunes that
Yeah,
I think you like.
I can't. Yeah.
But I think you're going to surprise all of us, and you're going to please Mr. Pat Wilson, because I think your favorite tune on this surprised you even. And I think it's Fall Together. I think you love that solo. I think you love Rivers' cocky vocals. I think you just love that grit.
Okay.
In your opinion?
I think Liam's probably right, to be honest with you. But that's not what I guessed, and I'm not going to change now just because I've heard Liam make a very convincing argument. My guess was Slob.
Oh man, you're both wrong, but both great songs though.
What is he gonna do to us?
This is sad. It's very sad.
It's Dope Nose.
It's so sad.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, I guarantee you, like the last list I made, it could have been on there.
Yeah.
It's like it's not fair. It's like it's not. Yeah, so I had Dope Nose, Fall Together, and Slob as top three. So
That's a great top three.
yeah, so it was you had good senses. It was not like
We weren't too far off the mark, but you enigmatic, mysterious Kevin strikes again.
That is amazing. I'm impressed that Dope Nose has climbed up for all of us.
Yeah.
Not that it was ever at the bottom, but like to have the lead single, kind of goofy lyrics, the word fag in it. it's just
I was trying to hint at the irony is that like the lowest song I have is Keep Fishing, which is a single, and the highest song is Dope Nose, which is also a single.
That is interesting.
They're diametrically opposed to each other.
Cool.
Who wants to do their?
I want to know Liam's. I'm dying to know.
Okay, yeah. So I'll go from number one, since I already said my second there. So my number one is Slob.
Yeah.
My number two is Take Control, and Take Control just kept climbing up. It wasn't a favorite when I started this, and it just kept going. Three is December.
Wow.
Beautiful December. And if it had the arpeggio in it and like a bit more dynamics, who knows where it would be. And then four is Slave. 5 is Dope Nose. 6 is actually Keep Fishing. 7 is Death and Destruction. 8 is,
that's lower than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. It's just the lyrics bring it down, I think. 8 is Space Rock. 9 is Burnt Jam. 10 is Fall Together. And even that sounds so low because I love that tune. And then I'd say the bottom 3 are kind of do feel like a bottom 3, even though I like them. 11 is Possibilities. 12 is Love Explosion. And then 13 is American Gigolo.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Huh.
Nice.
Okay. Kevin.
All right, I'll do it. Dope Nose, number 1. Fall Together, and I wrote in next to it. Love that solo.
Sick. Fall Together, number 2. That's awesome.
Slob, Slave.
Hey.
American Gigolo, I rated a higher. Death and Destruction. Burnt Jam, December. All right. This is what happens when you type your things in Excel. Number 8 is N.
And
No. Sorry. Never mind. Sorry. Burnt Jam is number 7. December is number 8. December. No. Okay, this is all wrong. I got 2 Decembers here. This is not right. So December is number 8 and number 9. So, oh my God, what song did I leave out? I don't even know. Okay, forget it.
just keep going. Maybe we can figure it out.
Number 10 is Love Explosion. Number 11 is Space Rock. Number 12 is Possibilities. Number 13 is Keep Fishing. So I admitted a song. I don't. Whatever.
I don't know what you're missing there.
It didn't affect the top or bottom.
Yeah.
So it's immaterial
That's
to the game. We're fine. Wow. Okay. Cool.
What do you got?
Yeah. Okay. So.
Do a little bit of a drum roll.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. So number 1 is Take Control, as you guys know. Dope Nose, I had at number 2. Number 3 was Death and Destruction.
Wow.
Again, just the music is enough for me. Like it does it for me for sure. 4 was Slob. 5 is American Gigolo. 6 is Fall Together. 7 was Space Rock. 8 was Keep Fishing. 9 was Burnt Jam. 10 was Slave. 11 is December, and then I had Possibilities, and then Love Explosion. Yeah.
I think Love Explosion Possibilities are at the bottom. Where are they on your list?
Bottom three.
Yeah, bottom three.
Me too. Yeah.
So all of us, we all concur that on that those two songs belong somewhere in the bottom three on Maladroit.
Yeah.
And wait, what are your top three?
Top three was Take Control, Dope Nose, and Death and Destruction.
And Liam, how about you?
Slob, Take Control, and December.
All right, so it appears that Slob is like considered one of the top tier ones.
Oh, for sure. Slob was just edged out of my top three. It was number 4.
Oh, okay. And then you had Dope Nose in your top 3?
No, it was number 5.
Oh, shit,
Dope
okay.
Nose. Still up there, though.
Okay, I had Dope Nose, Fall Together, Slob. Okay, jeez. Anyway, I'll calculate it all.
A lot of good tunes, man. I found right up until I left to come here, I would think about a song and I would be like, oh, I love that song. I got to play it and see, because it's got to be higher. And then I would think of another song. This album to me is kind of like potato chips, where like, I love potato chips and I can say my favorite flavor, but really my favorite flavor is like whichever kind I'm eating in that moment.
Whoever's in front of you.
I'm enjoying this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So it's such a sick album.
Yeah, really, really, really good record. And I was telling when you were, I think you were up in the washroom there, Kev. I was telling Liam that like when I went into this, and for like the last 2 decades, if you'd asked me which I prefer, Green or Maladroit, I would have, without thinking, answered Green.
Yeah.
And I would say that's solidly flipped now. And Maladroit might even have like not only reversed with Green, but maybe has climbed. Maybe it would go into my like
S tier.
Maybe it would go into my S tier now. Yeah, yeah, or at least the A's, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's my 3rd favorite album. I don't know, but yeah.